because we have delivered a very fresh and crispy stream to your TVs, computers, phones. Well, to be fair, it has been more like 400 days, but we're not going to talk about it. We would like to welcome everyone back to the Bar Table Podcast. Woo!
Go!
Let's go! We're out of the basement.
Yeah, let's go!
Let's go.
Good to be here.
Let's
Good to be here.
All right. First and foremost, why don't we introduce ourselves, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Eon, a 20 something year old sleep deprived mess with a coffee addiction, and I will be your host for today's episode of the Bar Table Podcast. Let's go ahead and meet. Let's go ahead. I'll introduce the others, please.
Hey everyone, I'm Taxi and I'm a content creator who spends way too much time playing TCGs. I rely on that experience that I've built to basically make guides and help others along the way.
Hi, I'm JarNad, a competitive player since 3.3, the release of TCG. And you might have seen me in a few tournaments.
Hi, I'm minun. I've been playing competitively for about a year. You might have seen me in the TER versus AAA clan war 2 weeks ago.
Hey, I'm 20DX. You can call me 20DX. Honestly, call me whatever you want. I've been a player since 3.3, and I don't have any major achievements. I'm consistently 3-2, but I'm frequent on the server, and I help new players with deck building guides.
I think people might be selling themselves a bit short here, but before we get to that, hi everybody, I am Kojo Creations. We're back with another podcast. Big shout out to everyone who was gathered here, but also both 2KB, Billy, and Eon for running the show on this stuff. So it's really good to see everyone here is a really big veteran, I would say, of the Genius Invocation TCG scene. I'm very glad to see that everyone has decided to pick up going for a podcast again. So again, thank you all for being here, and it's great to just finally be back.
Thanks for hosting.
And
Yeah.
thanks for that very wonderful introduction, guys. That was really professional. Okay, I don't know what to say. All right. Now, for the very first topic for our podcast, dive in right away. Well, if we do remember, like the way back then, the last time we had a podcast like this was actually back in 4.4. Believe it or not, like was it like 9 to 10 patches? We had a gap between 9 to 10 patches, like right, Kojo?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it was just a lot of the people were usually busy, with doing like other jobs and or competing. So we were not really able to do any of this stuff. But just to give a general rundown, this podcast, it used to be like Meta Roundup, but whatever it is, it's about Genius Invocation TCG, right? And the whole spiel is that we try to review, what happened last patch. So we're in a transitional period. We're moving over into the next Genshin Impact patch, and we have the old cards, we have new cards, and we want to analyze the metas and whatnot because we've been gone for so long. Nice for the calculation, 400 days. We are actually going to be reviewing all the way back downtown from 4.7, and we're going to check out what we have from there.
That's right, Kojo. Now let's get on ahead with the very first patch that we're going to review, 4.7. Now, I would like to say that 4.7 was really a big update, purely because of a specific character. Who's that character?
Super
Narwhal.
time.
Super whale time.
Whale.
Whale.
Well,
Drop the copy pasta.
he's actually named All Devouring Narwhal. I don't know where the name whale came from.
He's a big
So-
boy.
Very big boy, true. Well, here the reason why he was like so prevalent in the meta is because, like, if I remember correctly, he was just like so broken on all sorts of levels.
Yeah.
I think we can do a quick kit rundown if we don't mind for one of us. What is it? Wants to do a kit rundown of what they originally did.
I'm pulling it up right here. Originally, do you want me to cover everything from normal attack through to
Oh no,
burst?
maybe give it the
From the
basic
HP,
rundown.
from the HP.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically what the whale did originally was for every one card, also, is it Elemental skill was deals 1 Hydro, then 1 Hydro for every 3 extra max HP provided by the passive, and basically you kept discarding cards to get the whale more HP, and you ended up with a whale with way too much HP that anyone could actually realistically deal with, and then you just died to the Enter and Summon. The Enter and Summon was basically, when played, you gain attack power on the summon equal to the elemental dice cost of all the cards eaten with the whale. And when you declare end phase, you deal electro damage based on the attack power, which meant that you could get reactions just from having whale himself.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's right.
Not to mention that the summon also gives Whale damage reduction. So he's basically a tank on tank.
And they actually also nerfed him after the announcement and before the release.
Speaking of the nerf, well, I would actually like to talk about that later. But as the commentators have already said, whale, when you're in a sticky situation, you could just discard like the same amount of dice cards, and just like heal a ton of HP to get yourself out of that situation. You guys want to know how broken he was back then?
I think we already know.
Like, look at
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
From
Oh,
Yeah.
boy.
4.7
Conwhale, my beloved.
Terrare.
4.7 up to
Let's go.
4.8. I think he was nerfed in 5.0, but before that he was just dominating the meta scene.
He was
I
also
mean,
nerfed from 4.7 to 4.8.
oh true.
And he's still
That is also-
dominating.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, no
Yep.
matter what. Now, what is it? A lot of this was to support the whole gimmick of discard engines, and we can see, literally every single one of these decks, right, that was making it to the top was some form of a discard engine. And if we want to do a little bit of explanation on what that was, because that was a new thing at the time when we came into 4.7.
That's right. Would anyone of the people here would like to discuss what exactly discards did for the game?
I can go through it. So in GITCG there are 2 main ways to discard cards. Oh, actually 3. First would be like if you overdraw, but that doesn't count towards the discard effect. Some cards introduced in this patch have discard effects, which rely on other card effects to discard them. So, for example, there's Xinyan, who's E would discard the card with the highest cost in your hand. If that card is discarded, it would trigger an effect. For example, for a pep, you would summon the small baby Apeps. And
All right.
this also synergizes with Whale, because if a card is discarded, Whale eats it and gains more HP. So you basically just draw your entire hand and then discard them to feed Whale.
Yeah, unlike all the other characters in the game, right, where Kaveh could do, a little bit of discarding, pretty powerful, but he's one track. Xinyan is just an engine. Whale has the most amount of benefits out of any character when it came to discards.
And I think that's why people like back then when Whale was used to be so popular, they paired Whale with Apep and Xinyan, because Xinyan is a character that has discard in her kit that actually gets a benefit off of it. And if the discarded card happens to be Apep summon, it actually benefits a lot more. So it's like benefit after benefit after benefit. And it was just like crazy back then.
Yeah.
I would also like to bring up most of the decks that are not 5-0, that are 4-1, ran Kachina and Cryocube. The reason being that these 2 characters don't have discard. However, Kachina creates stilettos, and her stiletto gets discard. Well, she creates a stiletto and then tunes it every time, which is a 3-cost card that feeds Whale. So essentially, she just became the whale feeder.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
What is it? A good way to look at it is that Kaveh, what is it? His whole gimmick, right, is that we can see on some of these cards is that some of them are just garbage cards, right? That's like throwing in random stuff just for him to throw at the enemy. But Kaching being able to generate a free 3-cost card every single time she attacks was enough to get Whale's ball rolling pretty much.
If
Yeah.
you're talking about whale faders, we can see that there was a massive shift from 4.7 to 4.8. And in 4.7, it was mostly the consecrated beast energy blocks that were used to feed whale. And
Mhm.
back then, you didn't really use whale burst a lot because it would do like 0 damage. And after that, the con beasts got nerfed with their blocks not giving them energy anymore. And so we
Mhm.
moved to Kaching. And also, I think that was the patch when Serene also released, which meant
Yeah.
Serene also generated a ton of 3-cost cards to discard.
Well, it's more so just cards you don't necessarily need in general, so you can just throw them away. It's just usually the drawback of Serene is if you get bad cards, you have wasted resources. But for Whale, if you get bad cards, you just tune them and get more HP and more damage. So it's just, it doesn't matter.
I think another important thing is that between the Cryocube and Kaching, you've got a strong core anyways that can sort of just deal damage to, in the form of piercing, the off-field characters. So you almost have a double deck you have to deal with. You've got to worry about the Cube and Kaching, and then you still have to worry about the Whale coming in when you've still had to deal with everything else.
Yeah. I mean, Kutzing just skilling is a lot of early game damage. So you have early game pressure and the late game threat of Whale.
And you slowly build up her burst, which just nukes everyone for 433 damage. And then, like, you still have to deal with Cryocube, who has a revive. And then you have to deal with Will, who is in the back with a lot of HP.
Mhm. Yeah, it
Also
is.
because as you go ahead, Coach.
They're good.
Oh yeah, I was just about to comment on like I guess another reason why people paired Kaching and Cube with Wild so much is probably because of the fact that SC even way back S or like it's still present to this day. SC or like super conduct is a really good reaction damage. It's like the spread damage is just insane in my opinion.
Yeah,
Yeah,
So
Superconduct is one of the highest value reactions in this game.
it is.
well, I do would like to point out that if we try to like focus a bit on the 4.8 week 2 AS top decks, it's not all whale. There's also a Sino deck by Akikat and a Bennett deck by Air. So I mean, it kind of looks like not all hope was lost for like all decks, and you just had to always spam whale. Comments?
Well, 4.8 was when Sino got buffed. So Sino was also really good.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Bennett's
And,
just
I
been
mean-
consistently good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Bennett
was just about to
burst
say
with
that as well.
yeah. Bennett burst with like prepare skills, especially like Herald that already at that time did 5 damage with his after he revives with his skill was just a lot of damage.
And also to mention that the Bennett deck specifically ran two monsters with revives and who has preparation skills. So they just sat there and just tanked the nuke that was Whale and then hit back with enough damage.
Another interesting card I want to talk about is actually Prospector's Drill that was released in 4.8 as well, because Sino and Chevrus were both able to use that to discard the overcharged balls that Chevrus would be dealing anyway. So you had a more consistent overload plan going forward that you didn't actually have to commit too many resources to just because you were playing a weapon.
Yeah, and I
Yeah, it
think
gave them a
Tada was
discard.
released as well, right? So you could even self-trigger the ball if you needed to.
Mm-mm.
Mm-hmm. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't there also a Ashta version of the Bennett deck?
It
Yes.
saw play before, and it still sees play now. But due to this patch being very like nuke damage focused, people just shifted towards Herald Cube.
Yeah,
which have preparation skills, and they had revives.
yeah.
And
The revives were like the main reason because you needed to be able to tank the damage and still do damage afterwards.
yeah. Well, as we have discussed, like just TLDR. Next slide, please. Whale is broken, utterly broken. So, in fact, people in the GITCG community started making him into a meme, and I think
Mhm.
you guys actually said it at the start, right? Super time,
Super
Super whale
time.
Super
time.
Super
time,
whale.
super time,
chat,
and
get your
then
top cross out.
yep, and then like what Minun has said, the dreaded nerf of normal.
Yeah.
And it got so bad to the point that from 4.8 week 4 onwards, Whale was banned by in the GITCG server. Any thoughts?
It was a good choice.
Yeah, I mean, I personally was against banning the characters outright. I was for a ban of specific decks. But at the end of the day, it was those decks not being played was better.
I think
4.8, there was a Catch Gathering tournament. It was just 35 games of Whale Mirrors. Like,
Yeah,
any
Yeah,
other
that was
deck just
abysmal.
got obliterated by Whale.
it was bad. It sucked.
Yeah, a
I'll
big
agree on that.
thing. What is it? Throughout our history, is that if a thing, especially Attila's usually one who nails out these bans, is that if it's too over meta centralizing, especially because we run only single deck formats, it's simply we just want to get rid of it so that way was that
Yeah.
people can actually still have fun of the sorts.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like I
compared
said,
to
it was a good choice to get these decks out of the tournaments.
I wanted to add, like, compared to Chinese tournaments who ran like a conquest format, they were able to ban whale specifically every time, and then just ran two other decks.
Yeah.
Hmm. Well,
That's what I was gonna say about that. Is that if you brought whale, you were basically forcing your opponent into a ban, so you could bring whatever else you wanted safely, no matter how strong it was, because you knew that they weren't gonna ban that. They were gonna ban the whale instead of that.
Yeah.
Hmm?
And even that is like very like valuable because you know what the ban is going to be. So you have and you know that your opponent is going to bring whale and you know you're going to ban that. So you effectively don't have a ban.
well, we have talked quite a bit about the ban, about whale, but like, I actually want to like focus a bit more on the nerf that actually whale got. Wait, I think this was yeah. Wasn't this in 4.8 or 5.0? I'm confused.
It's definitely 5.0 because
Yeah.
4.8 was circa
Yeah,
also the
4.0
time
is
we
still
were.
whale
Yeah,
dominant.
I see. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I've got
true.
the
All right,
change
so
history here, and it is 5.0 that it was changed to deal 1 max damage for 3 HP, but the max of that damage increase was +3, not +4. That was changed in 5.0.
Yeah.
It used to
Yeah.
be
And
+5, and then it got down to
yeah.
+4 in 4.8.
Yeah.
that's also true. And another factor of this nerf was his status, the deep devours domain. Back then, when you could just when you discarded 3 cards, he instantly heals the moment the third card is discarded. Now he receives the heal at the end of each turn,
It was
which is just
actually even better. It healed him by 3 times, so he could trigger stuff like Veteran's Visage or Maréchaussée Hunter 3 times.
three
Yeah,
times.
before the nerf, whale just healed not 3 HP, 1 HP 3 times.
Yeah.
Now he just heals for the maximum amount at the end of the round, which can't proc Visage and veterans and Maréchaussée Hunter.
True.
Yeah.
Mhm. So as you can see, after the nerf, after this huge nerf that Whale received, he was gone. Like, if I remember correctly, from 5.0 to 5.3 onwards, he disappeared out of the face of the earth.
Yeah.
Yep, pretty
Deservedly
much.
so.
Yeah.
I don't think
Yeah,
I've seen a single whale anywhere outside of Arena Champions.
I would say
Yeah.
Whale is still good. It's just that once we have tasted the full power of Whale, the nerf just hit way too hard.
Well, I think the payoff is still there, but it's slower now. So
Yeah, exactly.
if you're up against you have way more matchups you lose now. Since like aggro decks just destroy you before you can even get set up, and you can't heal during the round anymore, which is
Oh,
also,
yeah, and
was
this
also
was-
like a big factor.
This was also the patch that they introduced Shen Yun, which synergized with Cookie.
True.
Yeah.
think.
I think after, like, when she was released, people weren't really used to her kit that yet. But like, as you can see from 5.3, like 5.2 onwards, like once people got used to how she's supposed to be piloted, she like sort of had a high, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we just saw how good she can be with Cookie.
Hmm.
And then you slot in the third slot as a Cryo Cube or Herald, and then you just swirl with some healing, get more dice with veterans, and then just pierce everyone in the back.
That's coming back to EC and SC being high value reactions that you can
I think
trigger very easily in this deck.
I think another thing is originally people thought that maybe Shen Yun would apply too much animo, but it turns out that applying that much animo, especially on a switch, is just really, really high value since it's barely committing any resources. You're spending 2 dice to gain a Cookie skill swap and a Shen Yun skill swap because she reduces the swap after her first skill to 0 anyways.
Just for reference, we can run down the rotation of the Cookie Shen Yun, round 1 through round 2. What is it? Does that paint a clearer picture?
I would say that the opening would probably be like you go Cookie skill, and then, well, before that, you either put on Veterans or Marashose Hunter. Then you Cookie skill, that should generate you back 8 dice that you can use. Then you swap to, well, you've got 2 options from there. Either you can ramp up, or you can go to Shen Yun and swirl the Electro. From there, you're probably ending your turn with some kind of value piece, like another Marashose Hunter or Veteran's Visage. Then on your second turn, you're basically going to whatever your elemental anchor is, using their skill to apply onto the character that doesn't have an elemental application or just react off of the swirled Electro. Then whatever element is left there, it gets into a very sticky situation for your opponent because as soon as you swap back to Shen Yun, no matter what character they're on, they're going to take swirl damage and electrocharge damage or superconduct damage, which is -2, -3 on a react.
Yes. The reaction is 3 damage, +1 on the actual target, and then 1 piercing to the other 2. So if you trigger with a swirl, even a double superconduct or electrocharged, you would get double that value. So 6 damage.
Just from a swap.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and
Not
that's
including
kinda...
the status damage, which is 1. So
Yeah, so
7 just
that's-
with a swap.
It's like what you guys mentioned earlier when we were talking about Whale, is that, what's funny enough is that the original Conwhale deck is the exact same elements lineup, right? You have a Hydro, Animo, and Electro, and being able to spread out that much damage with such efficiency, right? People would never think that swapping would be the most viable way to go, but it turns out when someone gives it to you for free, it makes it a lot more potent. And of course, Herald, being the monster that he is, did not help the situation.
I just realized we didn't talk about Conwhale. We
We
talked
did-
about every other deck but Conwhale.
I mean,
Conrail.
We talked about Conwell.
We,
I mean,
we
we
can talk
didn't say,
about it
like,
here now. If you
Mhm.
we
want.
talked about it a
If you want to
little.
bring it up.
I mean,
the general gist of it is just consecrated beast created energy blocks. Get
Mhm.
more dice, get more energy, and then just feed whale. It was just so busted.
Oh
it was
yeah.
just very good because both bursts were basically one energy burst. Then you have the huge nuke on Serpent, which
And Serpent
For-
Draw too, right?
Serpent drew 2 at that time. Yes, Serpent
Yeah.
was not nerfed yet, which you get a lot of draw, which you need to feed whale. So it's basically you do damage while drawing, while building up your burst. That is a huge nuke for which basically kills any character instantly that doesn't have a revive. Then you have Scorpion, which has very efficient application on the burst, especially for 1 energy at the time, and also a lot of damage. It's like it's realistically a better Klee burst for 1 energy instead of 3.
Mhm.
So
It was a lot to learn from I haven't lost yet, not being able to proc twice. And they're like, let's make a card that gives you energy.
yeah,
Back when
And it was a
times used to
0
be so
cost
simpler.
card.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Back when times used to be so
That
simpler,
actually
man.
gave you a die.
hmm
So busted.
Well, I actually want to stay on like the slide for now.
Mhm.
I want to stay on the slide because so like I quickly want to like ask you guys before we move on. Do you think in the near future, even all of the nerfs, will we able to see Narwhal again?
Yeah,
No.
Possibly. I know some top players have been saying that whale isn't bad. So if there's ever
I
a conquest format again, possibly someone would bring him.
I also don't think he's bad. Like I said, the payoff is still worth it. You're just slower now.
In my opinion, I think it's more so not whale that we have to worry about, but what discard mechanic cards get printed, like or get made. Because if a super value discard card gets made, I could see Xinyan whale in some capacity coming back just as a double discard, so that whale can just capitalize off of whatever the new thing that they would release is.
Alright, I
Yeah.
think we can move on from whale.
Yep.
Yeah.
Whale is. It's been decided that whale will forever be in the graveyard. So let's respect. Let's give at least like 5 seconds to pay respects for Super Time.
I will miss the super
Super time.
time
Super
copy
time.
pasta.
You will not be missed.
Alright,
All
moving
right.
on.
We're moving on. um, I actually want to like discuss with you guys a bit. Um, as a point that coach has already, as a point that coach has already pointed out. Herald after, like before or after the normal nerfs, Herald made things so much harder for everyone, and he was just so flexible in my opinion. What do you guys think?
Herald, my god.
Yeah.
You can
Herald
you
the
can play
goat.
him in every single deck. You play him in Chiori Navia Crystallize. You play him with Crab, Freeze Crab, and you play him in EC's World decks.
Yeah.
And he has a prepare skill, so you can play him with Bennett.
Herald was just, I would say, was the best character at the time. He has just so much value, so much damage, so much application. Then the taxes. That like
God, the taxes.
the fact the taxes at that time took the backseat is concerning because that is already like such value you get from just his talent or his burst.
I think an important thing about Herald is the fact that the character is just so dice efficient. Having a prepare skill on that gates a damage increase after the res anyways, you're basically not even caring that they've got 6 HP because, like you said, with the talent, you don't care if they get knocked down because then you're being taxed and the damage on the prepare skills going higher. So you're dealing, I think, what was it, 5 damage just
Yeah.
for 3 dice
Yeah.
across 2 characters, which is multiple applications.
Yeah.
And
mean,
with Bennett, that's a
ideally-
+4.
Yeah, with Bennett is +4. But yeah, you have basically 5 damage with 2 application, which we also value as 1, so it's basically 7 value for 3 dice.
Mhm.
Insane character.
I mean, correct me if
Yeah.
I'm wrong, but you also get the taxing effect from his burst too, right?
Yep,
Yes.
you do.
But most of the time,
Okay,
you don't even get to his burst.
Well, I have seen some situations where if you're up against a stall deck and you just like want to prolong their like stall game, you could just burst. But I think it's just an optimal like choice you can do that not a lot of
Yeah.
people do. Oh, by
Yeah.
the way, so for context, for the people that don't know, what the quote unquote taxes that the casters are referencing here is Herald's passive. I guess it's a passive skill. It's more like a status that he affects. He puts
It's a
on to
status,
the
yeah.
enemy. Yep, it's a
Debuff.
status or debuff.
It's a
true.
status he puts on the opposing side with either his burst or his talent.
His talent. And what it does is it makes your opponent cost 1 more dice for either a skill or a burst.
Yeah.
For 2 times. Which you can imagine is. Yes, Takti?
I think the most annoying thing about that is it's not a round-based usage or a round-based timer. It's just a usage, so there's no way out of it. You have to do skills to get rid of it, so you can't circumvent your taxes.
Yeah.
The
That is
IRS.
Yeah, you
IRS.
can't evade here. The only way to evade taxes is with using normal attacks.
Which the only deck that is meta at the time would be Ryomiya,
Miria.
Yeah.
my beloved.
Well, I actually, regarding Herald, I actually want to discuss a specific meta deck that JarNad has brought up before. You see in 5.2 week 2 AS top decks, actually no, where is it? Oh, it's in 5.0 week 1 AS top decks. What is the first thing that appears on the top? The image, the character,
Crap.
crab.
Crab.
Yes,
Oh boy.
the menacing crab meta. Actually, I can I have that quickly explain how just like disgusting crab was.
Okay, so in 5.0, Crab started with 6 HP and 5 shield. And every time you create a shield character status or a combat status, Crab just eats it and gains 2 shield. So you have stuff like Thoma skill and doing an NA after Thoma burst. And obviously you have the General's Ancient Helm and Tenacity. So, and on top of that, Crab talent, first of all, is a Pyro Cleanse, and it gives +2 shield every round. So if you have like 3 shield artifacts equipped with talent, Crab is gaining 8 HP every round. And Crab's skill gives 2 more shield. What else am I missing? And its burst is a nuke once you have stacked up enough shields. So it's basically like if you play the Sino version, you can either play fast with Sino, and like you have to deal with Sino hitting you with Pyroris, and you have to deal with a high HP Crab.
Yeah,
Very
Pyro
true.
Crab is disgusting.
Very
Sino
Yeah,
crab.
and you
Yeah.
know, it's funny that it existed in the last few metas because crab is, I think people don't really think about it, but it's an old card. Like it's old. It's been in the game for a while, right?
Yeah,
True.
it was. I think
It
it was
came out
also.
for 4.6.
Yeah,
I think back then people already knew Crab was good, but then
Yeah.
Herald
I am an
was
OG
probably better.
complainer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
true.
You
I think
can't find
20D
messages of me in 4.6
I was always a crab believer.
complaining.
Mhm.
I think 20D pointed it out actually. Even though like Crab was released way back then in 4.6, like people already
Wait, he was
knew. Like
4.6?
didn't wasn't it 4.6? Was it?
It
Yeah.
was 4.6.
It was
Damn.
4.6. Yes.
Well, 4.6 had a lot of really impactful cards. Crab, Cookie,
Yeah.
Herald, and Faruzan. All four characters released that time were meta defining.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I think Crab, like in terms of Crab, like okay, no. Let's roll it back a bit. Cookie, Faru definitely rose to the top immediately as soon as they got released, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
Because you had decks like Fatuizan, which is Faruzan, Linny, and Lynette, which is an aggro deck. And then you had decks like
Cookie Nali.
Cookie Nolly, yes, Cookie, Linny, and Nida,
Yeah.
which is basically like the official version, but like a lot better because Cookie's talented verse makes her like it converts her into a cryo cube basically. The revive part.
A cryo cube that has unlimited revives every round. Like you get one
Yeah.
free revive every round.
Yeah.
That is true. So, yeah, the reason why, I guess, you know, I don't know if this is kind of like true or not, but there weren't a lot of characters slash cards that really synergized with Crab back then, I think.
I'll
I think
kind
there
of throw
were.
in. Yeah, there were because Toma existed back then. Other shielders existed as well, right? Because then we have that's why Snow Crab even exists in the first place when it first came out,
Yeah.
right?
That's no crap.
But
That
yeah,
was old.
the key thing, like what modern whale is now, right after the nerfs, is that it was just a little bit too slow, right? Even with the equipment like tenacity and whatnot, if you faced frontal pressure really quickly, Layla and Herald can only do so much to try and abstain, so people would just run you down. But it got its own tool with Sino, and oh man, we did not talk about Sino because he existed last meta, but he really just
Yeah.
started ripping it next time.
I
So
mean,
Sino
he-
was been here since 3.3, and he was like considered a worse, maybe was coaching and so on, until 4.8.
Yeah. He got his buff. And the fact that even though he was very strong, he didn't top any tournaments really. Because of Whale shows you how busted Whale was. Because Sino was very good already at that time.
Yeah,
Like-
Sino was probably one of the best characters during the Will
Yeah.
patch, but Will was just leagues better.
To cut in, even when it came, because 4.7, 4.8 are the Prince Cup patches, where what is it? When I was like, even Sino was there like sometimes, but it's like you're gonna do the whale, man. Like you're what is it? You're not gonna. You have to ban that guy, or like what is it? Or you deal with Crab, and people usually found a way around it, or they just wanted to use it for something else, so they didn't really bother with it.
Yeah, I think during the Prince Cup, didn't Whale have like a 98% ban rate or something?
Yep, I think I still have the
It caught-
screenshot. Oh
I
boy.
think in
I
CN
think it-
tournaments, it got coaching
think-
100% ban rate.
Yeah, I think during the Prince Cup, Whale was banned for every player except one, I think.
I have the statistics. 100% ban rate on Kaching, Whale, and the Cryo Cube.
Oh my
Damn.
gosh, disgusting.
Insane and I'm pretty sure that's a combined statistics across both the NAEU and the Asia. So that was like insane.
Yeah.
Unanimously hate it.
Catching 100% ban rate.
Surely coaching was
it's-
the best
it's
card in the
not fair.
game.
Yeah,
True.
catching was the best.
Yeah,
My
but it
queen.
was- It's really nice to see Sino finally break out of where he was originally, and finally they changed the silly mechanic where he's like, "I'm gonna play the waiting game." No, you're not gonna play the waiting game. You're gonna be very aggressive as much as you can. What is it? And now we end up with this state because they wanted to make Sino look cool, and now he becomes the most powerful thing in combination with another powerful thing. So
Honestly,
I-
I agree with this change. I think Sino getting that damage buff and like getting his stacks faster was a good change because it just solidifies him as like the king of TCG. Like it's very on theme for him.
Very true. And as a number one Sino enjoyer ever since 3.3, I can very confidently say I was very happy when he got the buff.
Glad for you.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Right.
but
I wasn't. I never read his kit
That's funny.
because I was told it was bad, so I never read the passive. So I needed to read.
Yeah.
Sad.
Actually,
Imagine reading.
You know,
as you're
right?
reading, I actually
TCG
want to
players and reading.
like cannot make the connection at all. Like to PCG and reading supposed to make sense, but they don't mix together. Kind of like water and
Nope.
oil.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Well. Anyways, there's actually like two more decks that I want to discuss here. First is if you look at 5.3 week 2, there's this thing that Minen already pointed out is how much how much value SC and EC had put. Actually, no, how much value Super Conduct and Electro Conduct had put on the table for the GITCG meta in the future. And well, would
Yeah.
you look at that? A character that can do both at the same time while also having the survivability. Ladies and gentlemen, Shen Yun SC.
Oh yes.
This deck was the meta defining.
Yeah.
Very
I mean, for this patch, you basically only had two decks, those being Crab and Shen Yun.
Xinyan SC.
I think
True.
Zhanyun SC is probably the deck that I would say, aside from Stall, utilizes veterans and Marashose the most because between the food package, Cookie's healing, and Zhanyun's healing, you're basically generating more dice in a turn than I think classic Magic engines even would.
I mean,
Mhm.
it's the dice generation is more consistent, right? Magic basically is one time, and if you're out of dice, you're out of dice. But with veterans and Marisha Hunter, that resets every round. You get those dice every single round, which, of course, against decks that can play slow, is a huge advantage.
Yeah, given
I-
how
Right.
Cookie and Xian Yun can heal themselves and the team, it just makes veterans and Marashase like just run the long game.
Like
You
if you
basically
have
outvalue everything.
Like if you have veterans on two characters and Marashase, then your Zhanyun burst is basically free at that point. You get the swall off of it, but you're healing everyone for one, which procs those artifacts, and then you do just get a free burst.
True.
Very true. So I'm sorry. Hmm. I actually want to like another deck that I wanted to point it out in 5.1 week 1 NA. Is basically Chiori, right? This is Chiori, right?
Yep.
Which is
Yeah,
like
Chiori
another
Navia.
deck, Chiori Navia, which like really popped off after uh Norwell got banned. Can I like know the reason as to why this got like so like this had a peak somewhere sometime?
Yeah, we can talk about Chiori. I think Takti, can you kind of explain like what made Chiori's first round plus talent card so strong?
I think it's because you got to choose what summons that you wanted, and I can't remember which one. I think it's Knife Wielding or Grouchy that makes all your geo damage from your summons +1. So in the first round, you could basically just go with Stove, Fetch. So you would play like 2 copies of Chiori's talent, 1 copy of Navia's talent, or the Herald. Then you would fetch Chiori's talent. You would set up 3 summons on the first round, swap to Herald, and then past there, you're generating so many crystallize like reactions that you're just feeding Navia bullets to carry through the end game.
I think the specific summon that this deck was looking for, like there's Klee Chiori and a Herald Chiori, where they want the follow up damage one, which synergizes
Effortlessly
with Herald.
outclassing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so once you prepare skill or Klee E, you just deal crystallized damage and then get more bullets for Navia.
Mhm.
And I think
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
deck is like really popular because people like Chiori, people like Navia.
I think what is it? I'll slide in there. What is it? One of the key things, right? Because including what you talked about with the Cleave follow up, which is something we're going to see more in the future patch, but is that Chiori being able to spit out so much damage, even without the talent card, really, right? And being able to summon that much, and we'd see that also, come up later down the line, is what was able to fuel engines like Navia and so forth, going forward with her Geo summons. Which, hey, we got a good Geo character, guys. Yeah.
Let's go.
Yay!
And
A Geo
then
character
they
does not
nerfed
stall.
her.
And then they nerf her to the
We'll get to
ground.
that.
Just like we tell.
It does
We'll
work.
get to that.
Okay, before we move on to the next topic, I would quickly like to ask, like, during the period where so many meta decks were popping up, like Crab, Chiori, Navia, Shen Yun, EC, what were your guys' favorite decks to play? Let's start with mine first, and then work our way down.
I just play crab. I actually think it's fun to play, but the thing is, I don't want to play the same deck for 3 patches, so I eventually stopped and just played whatever I felt like in the moment. I played a bit of Niloom because I like Niloom. It's my favorite deck. So I basically played crab like the first 1.5 patches and then just played whatever. Played a bunch of different stuff.
I kind of jumped back and forth. My favorite during this era and probably until now is, as I mentioned before, Yoimiya, which is Yoimiya-Wriothesley and not Ayaka. Instead, it's Yelan. So that kind of showed up in 5.0, and it took off later on when like there's more diverse decks and Yoimiya could make a name for itself. I also like ran a bit of Cookie, Shen Yun, and Xinyan Pep. Like those were my favorite decks.
For me, I just played. I think I didn't have a favorite. I just played sort of whatever I was feeling like playing a character on that day. But like with Ryomiya, that was obviously honestly one of my favorites. And then whenever I needed to play something that I actually wanted to try for, I would just play a Shen Yun deck because I think the Shen Yun Herald Cookie deck is probably one of the best decks that we've ever seen in the game, and that's just my opinion on that.
Okay, my
Yeah.
goat had been Herald. Um, I played both the Chiori, Navia, Herald, and Bennett. I preferred Electro Hypostasis. These were the 2 decks I stuck to the most.
Yeah, during this specific era of 5.0 through 5.2, I definitely stuck with any Chiori deck, usually combined with Navia. I would usually use Shen Yun and Cookie, the core, to do something if I wanted to actually win. But Navia and Chiori finally having someone who could really fuel her Geo bullets was a lot of fun, and I think I made a lot of people upset by killing them with just bullets.
Wow, those really are some fun decks that we had fun playing during these times. Can you like? And now I want to move on to the next topic. Move 2 slides. The part where Arlecchino. Yep. So, um, at the release of 5.4 for TCG players, we actually had 2 new character cards. First, I want to talk about is Arlecchino, which, to be fair, I think has been anticipated by a few GITCG players in the community. What are your thoughts, guys?
I think what is it before we jump into the discussion is that as much as they are releasing less cards in this time because they're running out of playable characters to do, it didn't really change the fact that the TCG devs definitely put a significant amount of effort into making them really have unique mechanics. Because Arlecchino is an amazing character in the main game, but how do you translate that kind of power to not make literally the most broken pyro character ever, which they always do to themselves? First it was Klee, then it was Lenny, but yes. If we go ahead and discuss Arlecchino's specifics of the kit right here.
also like to bring up that during this time they made a lot of unique character kits, like Xinyan, which didn't like. How do you like? She doesn't have anything discarding in the main in the overworld. So and there's also like Rosaria, who created critical double damage. So
Mhm.
it translates really well into TCG, and it shows the creativity of like how they could create new cards.
Mhm.
Yeah.
If one of us doesn't mind running down what Arlecchino's special little mechanics are.
So I think Arlecchino basically has two aspects to her kit. She's got her skill, which applies Blood Debt Directive stacks, and you have 5 stacks from that. So what happens with that stack is when any damage is taken by the opposing side, they get 1 Bond of Life stack. And this can be used any number of times in a round, so you can basically spread 5 Bond of Life wherever you want. And then the second aspect to her kit is that when she does a normal attack, she basically consumes the Bond of Life from the opposing character and increases her normal attack damage by a proportionate amount up to a cap. So you get really interesting interactions with this where you can either use Nahida and her seeds to sort of more effectively spread the Bond of Life so that by the time you get to Arlecchino, she's not in such a fragile position that you actually need to use her skill as the first thing you do in a game. Or you can use Fatui Frost Operative, which puts naturally Bond of Life onto the opponent that she can then later use.
But one issue with Arlecchino is that she has a huge debuff, which she is unable to heal outside of her own kit.
Yeah. I have played her quite a bit because I like Arlecchino and I wanted to just make a deck even if it was just for fun. I even played it in the recent clan war. Just because I think the kit is fun, although not necessarily super good. The best workaround I have found is that you simply try to protect her as much as you can so that you don't need to heal her. So that's why in my clan war deck I ran Lawmaster for more protection and tenacity for shields every round, and of course her own talent protects her. So the best way I found to work around that debuff of not being able to heal her is to simply prevent as much damage as you can, which of course takes a lot of setup, meaning she's pretty slow with that playstyle. That also means you can't really start on her to get early value from her skill, which is all like, yeah, it's a little awkward, but it's a workaround I found to be the best way to work to like build around that weakness of not being able to receive healing.
I see.
Wait, the problem with playing slow is Crab also
Yeah,
plays
it's a
slow.
little unfortunate that,
Yeah.
with all the stuff, regardless, Arlecchino did have a very difficult time catching on in the meta, as we'll discuss later when we have more tournament statistics. But overall, being able to have like a sort of, what is it, a kind of like a way higher attack value, which is like what she's like in game, onto the enemy, but you need to fulfill all these certain conditions with the Bond of Life, was pretty neat. And I mean, to kind of finish off Arlecchino, do we kind of see anything that could really make her carve out a niche or, be really busted in the future?
I mean,
Honestly, I don't think so. I'm not a big fan of her card, to be honest.
Thinking
mean-
about it, there might be, but it depends on what characters they release. Because, like you said, you can't really play her slow because then you're threatened by Crab, and if you play her too fast, then you put her into a dangerous position. And because of that, not being able to get healing, she just kind of doesn't do what you want her to do as quickly as you want her to do it.
yeah, I think you would need something that quickly protects her. So maybe a character that just makes a shield that's good, or makes a technique on a skill that also protects, or something that is quick and doesn't take a lot of resources to set up, that still protects her well. But that would
Mhm.
also probably be strong in other decks, so Arlecchino would probably not end up being the character that benefits most from that.
Fair
They will
enough.
have one over spiritual take is that the Brocksteady Guardian, who's in the heated battle mode, should put up a butter crab shield for everyone, and that'll be the solution. Trust.
Real.
Real.
Yes.
Ooh.
Wait, have we actually discussed Arlecchino's talent card? I think we have, right?
We haven't, but I don't know if it matters too
Minun
much.
mentioned it a bit.
Yeah. Basically what it does, it costs 2 pyro dice, and it's a combat action, meaning you do pass the turn, and it applies 3 bond of life to herself, which is good because that turns her normal attack damage into pyro damage. And it simply makes it so that when you take damage, if you have bond of life, you will consume 1 bond of life to reduce the damage she takes by 1. So it's basically Day of Resistance, but with bond of life and only on her.
And it's unlimited. If you
Yeah.
combo it right with your skill. Alright. Move on. Now I would like to move on to the next character that also got released alongside Arlecchino. It's Kinich. Now actually, before we discuss about Kinich's kit, there was actually another besides discard, like the other casters that have discussed about, there was another mechanic that got introduced alongside Natland, which is techniques. Does anyone want to quickly uh synthesize what techniques did back then?
Okay. The technique is basically a kind of equipment that you can put on your character. Sometimes they cost something to equip, sometimes they're free. And once you equip them, they have a certain amount of usage, and it costs dice again to use them. Uh, yeah, that's basically it.
The
Thank
most
you so
popular one
much.
would be Yamka.
Mhm.
Yumka.
Yoinka.
Yeah.
Yoy.
Yoink.
There's
Yumkasaurus.
actually what is it? I think that's one of the things we left out of the discussion for Crab is that Yoinkalosaurus was there. What is it? But I mean, I think it was already the power spoke for itself. I don't even think you need to include
Yeah.
Yoink to make it that strong.
And
Mhm.
I mean, generally techniques aren't that great. I mean, basically all of the techniques that aren't attached to a character are pretty bad, or at the very least very niche.
Except for Yoink.
I think
Yeah,
another
Yoink was
really good one is Shen Yun's burst that gives you a technique.
Yeah.
One dice to heal too is pretty decent because that's essentially like you're playing hash browns for free in your deck without actually having to use the deck slots to play hash browns.
Also, the
Yeah.
status that the techniques, the Shen Yun's technique gives, the after you do a normal attack, the swirl, which is kind of like if you time it right with, if like if your opponent's active character has Hydro, and his standbys have Electro, that's gonna cause some really serious electro charge damage.
Yeah. It
so-
was mostly good to then anchor on Cookie to give her more damage in the late game while also giving her more sustain.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah. As much as we
And
didn't talk on the,
synergy.
techniques were a pretty cool thing overall. What is it to throw in to the mix? And what is it? While techniques might not be too prevalent on characters who summon them, like Kinich and Mulani, what is it? I think Kinich's kit can definitely speak for the rest of himself, and I personally think he's pretty strong.
yeah, um, can I quickly ask, weren't the techniques exclusive for the Natline cards, and all the Natline characters except for Shen Yun?
They
No.
reworked the Aramites.
They reworked the Aramite, and there was also Hilichurl Rogue. And
Oh yeah,
Sino
Hilichurl, I
Chromatic
forgot
Ray.
about
Oh,
him.
Hilichurl Rogue.
I
Yeah,
forgot about him.
Yeah. But also, xenochromatic blade is fontaine. It's one of the things you find underwater.
I'll quickly discuss about Heliotrue Rogue. Basically, what his does is his burst gives out a zero cost technique that you can equip to a character, and what it does is it prepares a skill, and then at the end of the prepared skill, it stuns your opponent's active character from moving for the rest of the round. So it's basically like uh a freeze status, or like a status that only Zhongli gives with his burst, but you cannot break it in any sort of way. Because with freeze, you can technically break it with Tada, but this one you just can't, right?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
there's
you
nothing
can
you
still
can do to
prevent
stop
it.
stun.
Yeah. Okay, so in in light of the techniques attached by characters, let us now talk about Kinich, because he's been staring into my soul, wanting to be discussed for 10 minutes now.
I got him
Any
cornered.
anyone wanna quickly go through his kit?
That one's not on me. I don't even half understand this man's kit. I'm gonna be honest.
Arguably,
I-
Kenich's kit is one of the most complicated ones.
Yeah,
I
and I could give a
can
throw at it,
elaborate.
but I think minimum can do it.
Yeah, I mean, what he basically does is his skill does 2 dendro damage. I think. I
Mhm.
think it's 2.
Yes.
Then he swaps position with one of your other characters, so the cards actually move. And he applies a status to himself, which gives him Night Soul points. What that exactly is doesn't really matter. It's basically just stacks he gets every time burning gets triggered or a technique gets used. And once he gets that triggers twice, he gets the stacks. He gets a separate status that will deal 2 dendro damage to the opposing character closest to him once he is swapped to, which doesn't work like Kazuha. So it basically it is that the attack itself is a fast action, but you don't get a fast swap for it, like with Kazuha. Yeah. And his burst basically does 1 damage and gives you a summon that will do 1 dendro damage to the active character and the next character. I think it is. Yeah.
Another part of his kit that some people kind of like tunnel vision on is, if I remember correctly, if you skill on Kinich, you technically don't have to swap to another place. You can just click him to like, you can like stay in your place and still do the skill. If I remember correctly,
I
Yeah,
Yes, you
you can
can.
do that.
you
I
can.
think so.
You can.
Because the swap is to control which opposing character is the closest, so you get the status damage on that character.
Status damage off. And refresher, his technique basically is like, while it is up, if you deal burgeon damage, right? Or if you use a technique if someone uses a technique other than Kinich,
Yeah.
It
and it's also
shoots
not
out
a technique, it's a
damage.
status. He
Yeah, it's
doesn't
a
have a
status.
technique.
True. I just
it's a
call it
status.
technique.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone want to talk about his talent card real quick before I move on to the support cards and event cards?
His talent card lets you play 4 copies of Yoimiya-Yelan-Wriothesley, so there's that.
I don't think we even mentioned what Yoimiya-Yelan-Wriothesley does.
We
We have
haven't,
not.
but we could quickly talk about it if you guys want.
So before, Yoimiya-Yelan-Wriothesley is an equipment that that costs 1 to equip and then costs 2 to play. However, if you have less than 2 cards in hand,
You get 2 or less.
you get -1 to the use of the -1 cost to the use of the technique, which allows you to steal 1 card with the highest cost from your opponent. Very funny
Yeah.
card.
Very funny.
But
this is
now
why-
it also draws your opponent a card. So it's basically not card advantage anymore.
Still, you get to
Speaking-
mess up with their strategy, so it's still
Sure.
okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Kinich is basically that. So you get 4 copies of this card in your deck.
And then you play Forbidden Knowledge and make your opponent's deck just all be Forbidden Knowledges, and they'll never play again.
They will never
Oh,
play
I
the
can't
game
wait for
again.
the
Oh,
I can't wait for the
dude.
5.5.
I didn't even think about
Oh.
comboing it with the Mausoleum card.
Yeah.
You steal one, force them to draw one. It's funny.
Very
It makes
Yeah.
funny.
Forbidden Friendship a really, really funnily good card.
All
Or
right.
Pancration.
Or
Yeah.
But like you're
Pancration.
doing all that just to force your opponents to draw a card, which is like it's a very niche but funny gimmick.
Or like that new phlogiston card that what's it called?
Oh yeah, Phlogiston.
Yeah, the
Little up to pedal.
Whoever in the Hoyoverse headquarters decided to create cards that are basically region locked, like Pancration and Lumen and Rhythm of the Great Dream. Can we talk for a bit? Like, it's just an innocent talk. It's not like I have a gun behind my back. Surely not.
Surely.
All right.
Surely
Well,
not.
with that aside,
Moving on.
All right, let's
Moving
move
on.
We're moving on now, right? Let's move on to the new cards that also got released alongside Arlecchino and Kinich. First and foremost, we have. I think I can cover this one pretty quickly. First and foremost, we had Flower Feather Clan, which is a zero-cost support location. Basically, what this does is the next off-field character gains 1 stack of the next time this character switches becomes your active character. Recover 1 elemental die of the corresponding color. So basically, if you switch to the side character who has gotten a stack of the Flower Feather Clan, you will recover 1 dice. Which is basic. I
Yeah.
think there's an equivalent to that. I think was there? I don't know.
it's the
There-
quickly store talent
Ah, yes, that
or
that
technique, I
card.
should say.
Yep. All right. Next up is that.
There's also Fontaine Research Lab that kind of works the same. You either tune or discard 3 and you get 1 die.
Oh
I
yeah,
think
that too.
Feather,
Yeah,
Feather
but that's
Clan is a
only-
bit more niche.
Yeah.
Very much so. All right. Next up, we have the. I cannot say this, so I'm not gonna try. Treasure Hunter at Large. Basically, what this does is it's a 1-cost event card. It adds 2 abundant. I'm not gonna say that word because I can't. Cards to both of you
Logiston.
and Logistins. Okay. I'm sorry. Logistin. Wait, it's a silent P.
Yeah.
It's an F sound.
Phlogiston.
Phlogiston. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Abundant Phlogiston cards to both you and your opponent's decks, after which both of you draw cards. So this is basically like a strategize forbidden the
Eternal friendship.
card, eternal friendship,
Yeah.
and somewhat pot of greed mixed into one together.
Yeah.
It's funny.
It's funny too. Also, just in case, there is a side note here. To those who don't know, Abundant Logistin is a card that was released back in 5.0, I think, along with Moani, right?
I think
Yeah.
so.
Night Souls.
It is a 0 event card, which basically gives your user another Night Soul point if you've already used up 1. So it basically just recovers your Night Soul points.
Yeah.
Next up, we have Hot Spring O'Clock. It is actually a new food card. In all honesty, I haven't seen those in a while since Matsutake. I just haven't been updated, I think.
Most of them are pretty bad.
Yeah.
So, very true. This one, though, I think actually has potential because what it does is it heals the target character for 1 HP, base 1 HP, and an additional HP for each summon on your field. So let's say you're using APEP, right? APEP, and you have 4 summons on the field on your summon board, which is like the maximum. It basically, and then if you use Hot Spring O'Clock, instead of healing you for 1, since there's an additional 4 on the summon board, it heals you for 5. Which for
This
a
card
1
doesn't
cost
have potential. It's the best food card we've gotten.
True.
I will agree on
Yeah.
that. It is just the single best food card because with Chef Mao
Yeah.
it costs 0 to play, so it's a 0 cost heal 5.
It's
I was
really
about to
good.
say that too. I was about to say
Even-
that too.
even
It
at
is a really
base.
high volume.
You just need
Mhm,
2
mhm.
summons, which just equals a Lotus.
Yeah.
Lotus.
And like 2 summons, that's basically 1 Chiori talent.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't this like the a really great food card that we have gotten in a while?
It's arguably the best food card, period.
Yeah. It's if you can like trigger it with like regularity or like with a decent amount of summons, sometimes it's just really good.
You just heal half.
You'll have. Talk to me and my pre-nerf minty meat rolls.
I miss Ayamiya.
Okay.
That's true.
I am
I think, outside of the action cards, though, I think we had some balance adjustments that, oh boy, they were
Yes.
interesting, weren't they now?
Actually, Kojo, could you take care of the balance changes for me?
Of course, yes, let's take a look here. So, first off, Emperor of Fire and Iron feels very similar to when Agent got nerfed, and however, while it does matter, overall, they got an adjustment of 6 HP to 5 HP. Now, this is my opinion, but I feel like that's a slap on the wrist, you know?
It is.
It is.
It definitely is, considering that the real health is the shield aspect.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot like Agent when they finally took out their 2 competitors, which to be fair, Crab's main teammates are technically still around, but regardless, what is it? They're like, okay, let's take off 1 HP. It's like, I mean, I guess, but there's nothing you can really do without fundamentally ruining the kit, and I don't think we want to see Crab cooked at the stake, quite literally. But moving on from that, Shen Yun, the elemental skill damage has been adjusted from 2 to 1, so that's really nice because just having less base damage overall makes it so that you can't shut down a character so fast. And since Shen Yun enables so much AoE damage through Superconduct or Electro Charge, what is it? That's a good way to just keep characters not immediately dying at 6 HP. Next up, we had Chiori, which, we talked about her earlier, and her wonderful talent card, but unfortunately, she did receive the thing that made her actually really cool. So, her talent card, the dice cost is going to be 3 to 4. So, people would always play this on the first turn, and then once you upgraded it up to 4, that's going to make your round 1 a lot more uncomfortable. And the last one, I'll actually throw this over to one of you guys, because Yukumasaurus, oh boy, we mentioned it, and it got a big, big change. How about you go take this one, JarNad?
It still keeps the deal 1 physical damage and steal 1 effect, but but it also draws 1 for the opponent now.
Mhm. Yeah, and this card being so meta, I know we touched on it pretty lightly overall on the podcast, possibly because we're very tired of the card, but how did we feel about this change? Because it has been, since its inception, it has been a debate topic among all TCG players. You see people in Catstale's Gathering arguing about it, you see people in our server arguing about it. It's a never-ending debate, and they're like, they need to nerf this card now, and they never did until now. So what do we think of it?
This was a very good. This was a very healthy nerf, in my opinion. You still disrupt your opponent, but at the same time, you don't cripple them. Because back then, if an opponent ran this card, cards like Cookie, cards like Bennett, who have high cost talents, they just cripple. And they still do, but at least you don't lose all value. You still get the draw one.
Yeah,
I think-
absolutely. Because
There's an interesting niche case use with Yumka as well now, where you're forcing them to draw. So if they've only got 1 card in hand and you've got 2 techniques usages, you can still steal 2 cards. As opposed to before, you couldn't do that. You would just steal what was ever in their hand, and then you could keep the usage for the next round. So I guess you kind of just have better dice efficiency with it now.
I mean, yeah, in some situations.
Yeah.
I also think that this nerf was just healthy. I don't I did not like that they implemented card stealing in general. I just don't think that's a fun mechanic. Of course, like sure it's fun if you steal a card, but if you're on the receiving end, you're not having fun. Um this makes this of course better. You still draw a card, so the impact is less, but also the card becomes way more niche, since you're no longer getting card advantage off of it. You need to be really sure that using the technique is actually going to still give you value. And I've played against the new Yumkasor a few times. It's definitely less popular now, but I have been on the receiving end of the new one, and it's definitely way less impactful. Especially if they steal a card that you have 2 copies of, since you're now just drawing through your deck quicker to get to the second copy.
Very much so.
Anyone, Does
Yes,
anyone else
Koja?
want to share their takes on the Yunkamosaurus? Otherwise, I think we're good to move on to the next one.
Mm-hmm. Well, actually, before we do move on to the next one, I would like to quickly get your opinions on what can you go back to the Arlecchino one? Arlecchino site, please. Just this is just an overall thoughts for everyone. On a scale of 1 to 10, what would you rate Arlecchino? As in terms of how she's or he, I actually don't know what
It's
pronouns
she.
Arlecchino use.
She.
What
But we call
she
it fodder.
Yes.
Yeah, father. You know what? I'll just call her father. How we're scale father off of 1 to 10 based off how father is going to affect the meta moving forward.
I think maybe what is it? Maybe not affect the meta. Probably just your overall rating
Potential.
of
Oh, true,
the
true.
card and its potential, right? Because if it's the meta, the answer is 0 because you ain't there.
Yeah,
True.
that too. True, very true.
Yeah.
I would say overall as a character, Arlecchino's maybe a 7 with a really solid kit and good self-sustain, heavy damage, but does still struggle with survivability, so I can't really rate higher than a 7.
Sure thing. I think we'll go next in line. We'll go to JarNad.
I would give it a 5 because I mean I don't see how you could realistically play her.
Okay.
Koji
Toss it
next.
over to 20DX.
Oh, me? All right.
Yep.
I would agree with a 5 rating because her kit, I feel like it's all over the place. One, you need to skill to get her blood depth directives, but you don't want her to stay on field. And you there's so many things conflicting with her kit that I just don't think she's consistent as a character. So yeah, that's my rating, a 5 out of 10.
How about you, Minun?
Yeah, I would also give her a 5. It's basically what the other two said. She has, you kind of want to skill early, but you don't want to expose her early. Since you can't really heal from the early damage, she does have survivability, but then that survivability also passes the turn. It's just there's a lot of things that are contradicting each other in her kit. So she's fun. She's still solid once you get her set up, but yeah, a 5.
Yeah, I'm pretty in agreement with most of everyone's points. It's really difficult, with her kit to, as much as it is unique, to translate what she wants to do actually in practice. And, I don't really know realistically what can come in the future to really change her up, so I'm definitely sticking with a 5. And last but not least, Eon, what do you think of Arlecchino?
Um, Hmm. I give her a 10 because he's my father.
I knew it.
You know what, based?
I knew
You know what,
based.
based?
True.
All right. So what about Kinich? What kind of rating would you guys Kinich as a character card? Let's start with mine first, and then go down.
I'm really sorry. I 3. I really
Ooh,
don't think he's
spicy
good.
take.
Ooh,
I really
hot
don't think he's
takes.
good. He needs too much setup. He synergizes with only really burning and techniques. Burning, of course, next patch, we'll get to that, but next patch is going to be better. But then again, I don't think Kinich should be played with Emily. Since, at least if you want to maximize Emily, that is, I think it's going to be Kinich's best deck. Then techniques are generally not good, so that synergy already sort of dooms him. Then the talent is no longer card advantage, since it's basically the same thing as Yumkasaurus, and that also is no longer card advantage. Sure, his talent is cheaper, but yeah, I still don't think it's great. And his summon, like, you realistically want to maximize his status, so you don't really want to skill much. So getting his burst is relatively slow, and I don't think for it being that slow, the payoff is super great. So 3.
Okay, I would slightly disagree. I think Kinich has potential. He's very complicated as a character. Um, the grapples can snipe off like off-field characters, which is a good niche actually. But right now he doesn't have any synergy with any characters. So if in the future we get some characters that do burning, not Emily possibly, that can synergize with Kinich, I can see him being decent. I would give him a 6.5 out of 10. Takti, you can go
Takti?
next.
Uh, I'm gonna stick with the 3 as well. Like I honestly can't see him doing anything aside from being in meme decks. Maybe the snipe gets somewhere, but I'm not sold on it.
Okay, I would give him a 4. The thing is, as long as he's in his Night Soul Blessing, which his skill puts him in it for 2 rounds, uh, he can basically do infinite damage if you can proc his, if you can give him points multiple times. But then you have to swap to Kinich to get the damage, and that feels really bad. Like the ability is ready to be used, and you can't even gain more points, so you're forced to swap to Kinich, and only to swap back, use your techniques again. So yeah, that's my take.
Yeah.
All right. Yep. And it falls to me. So, what is it? I have to agree with a lot of the points that people have made here, and he's probably gonna still, despite that, fit into a 6 out of 10. I do believe that with how much Kinich has inside of his base kit, not even including the ability to yoink, because I generally ignore that when I play him inside my decks, but it's one of the cases of a character where you definitely need to play to the certain reaction niche, and personally, I don't mind that because said power output when you're able to make it work is incredibly strong. It's not something like let's say modern Magu Kenki where it's like, oh, if I get the 844 or it'll be like super duper good, but um being able to throw that out is significantly more difficult than what Kinich can already do. And I do like what his kit has to offer, especially with it having restrictions but not limiting your team comp like Nilu. Because, with the deck that I was able to play, like for the most part, was Kinich Dea and the Thundering Manifestation. And that just felt really powerful when you're able to get off what you want. Of course, if you have higher pressure, you will fold a little bit. But in general, what is it? I think he still has somewhere to go. in the future. He kind of just needs a little bit more smoothness when it comes to having to swap into him to do what you want to do. And of course, last but not least, Eon. What do you think of Kinich? As he's pointing the dragon cannon at you, that is.
Well, it's more like Aja is playing. Never mind. I would give it a 10 if he somehow synergizes really well into other branches like Quicken or Bloom. Because in my opinion, I just think Burgeon is the worst one out of all the Dendro reactions possible.
Mhm.
So I think I'm just going to probably demote him back to like 5. But a 10 if he was somehow able to like synergize well with Bloom and Index. So
Mhm.
yeah, those are some really good. Those were some really good ratings, guys. I really do appreciate your opinions. Now let's move on to the next topic, which is about the graphics for 5.4. Mm,
Hello.
hello. The just
Yeah,
like
we'll be rolling into it in just a moment, I'm sure.
mhm.
Good stuff to trip down. Take a look at everything that we haven't gotten a chance to really look at, because it's funny that because of this being a meta podcast, there's so many cards that we actually like technically skipped over. I mean, that's how it goes,
Yeah.
right? Only some
Mhm.
things can be meta, right? As much as I thought, you remember how scared we were of Hydro Hilly Trail? We're like, yo, this guy is gonna stun me, and I'm
Yeah.
gonna cry myself to
Yeah.
sleep.
You know what? You're so right about that, Kojo. Like, I do feel like some people in the community when they were reading the patch notes for some of these cards back in 5.0, back in 5.1, people were like really scared about the meta potential, but it just didn't really pop off because of like they sound good in theory, but in actual practice, it doesn't feel the payoff doesn't feel good.
It's the woes of actually having to keep the game balanced, which you know overall, I mean that's how it is, right? Sometimes you have the cool idea and then you don't get to do what you want. However, we are here to actually get some hard data on what's going on with the cards, and here is a stat sheet of the deck lists.
Can
Yeah.
I get a fact check on this? What is this? GITCG specific only, or is this like a stat from all of the other tournaments as well combined?
I think this is only from the weeklies.
I think so too.
I see. So
Just
it is
from
GITCG specific.
Yeah, it lines up pretty well with what is run in weeklies.
yeah. Also the amount of matches.
I see. I see. Really, there's really some really familiar decks here, guys. Any thoughts?
Personally,
All right,
I'm
let's
glad
just
that
go down. Let's go up the list from the bottom.
Yeah. Let's first start off with Mirror Maiden, Sayu, and Changyun, or in short, MSC.
So I can chime in, I guess. So MSC is basically Mew, which is like one of my favorite decks, but it changed so much that it's completely a
Mew.
different deck now.
It
So
mutated.
at first, yeah, at first it was Mona, Yola, and
Mutated.
Wanderer, but like Wanderer kind of fell off because you have Sayu, who just gets Wolf's Gravestone and a Prepare skill, which is insane synergy. So we get MSC with Sayu instead. Oh no, wait, no, not MSC. Um, MES. MES.
MES,
Mess.
MES.
Yeah.
Mess.
Yeah. Mess.
And then later, people found out that Eula was not good, so they swapped back to Chongyun, which had a good burst damage and gives Sayu cryo infusion. So we got MSC. And then later on, Mona, she didn't. She was only there for the fast swap and nothing else. She doesn't have damage. So if Sayu goes down, you don't have a backup damage dealer. And you could use Mona for something else, which possibly Mona Navia or some other decks. Right now, Mona's not in a good position in the meta, I would say. But Mirror Maiden fits that bill because she has she got a buff, which Refractions is no longer on her talent card. It's now on her skill, and she has 3 damage Hydro, which every other 3 damage Hydro has some drawback to them. So there's Hydro Hilichurl, who was it? Candace, who has a prepare skill. There's not many on-demand 3 damage Hydro, and Mirror Maiden is one of them. She is really good, and she has a huge burst damage. So yeah, this is how that deck was formed.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was really nice to see Mirror Maiden finally, after her many, many mutations, find a place again. What is it? In
So proud of her.
Yep,
Mhm.
very proud of
Yeah.
her.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but this deck only got popular after her buff, right? The refraction buff?
Yes,
After the
and
damage
it got popular like these few patches, like these 2 patches.
Yeah.
I think it used to play Hydra Herald, and then after the Herald nerfs, it kind of fell off for a little bit. But now it's back because, well, Mirror Maiden got nerfed. Buffed.
Yeah, Refraction just forces your opponent to not swap, and just gives you like easier swirls with Sayu.
Very true. Also, it's interesting to see that this deck, throughout all of the weeklies that we had in 5.4, which is that's 5 times 3 because of NA, Asia, and EU. That's 15 times 4 because there's 4 weeks. No, actually 5 weeks. So times 5, that's 5, 10, 15, 25, 30, 35, 80 out of 80 matches, right? 80 matches. MSC, Mirror Maiden, Sayu, and Changyu had 47 wins, which it's kind of half. It's still crazy to think about it though, which is with how much variety of decks there are nowadays. It's kind of crazy to think about.
Most of the decks on here have a 50%. Like if you look at the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, fifth column from the usages, so win
Yes.
rates. So most of these decks have more than 50% win rate, which what makes them like meta defining. And
Yeah.
MSC is just very consistent.
I mean, arguably, all of these are sort of consistent, no?
Yeah.
But in terms of like you have ways to control with Chongyun Infusion, or you can go fast with just Sayu swirls. Like there's pivots on how you want to play this deck.
I see, understood.
Yeah.
All right, and on the second column there, since we are going down, we have the second deck, which is Thoma, which consists of Thoma, Sino, and Emperor of Fire and Iron. In all honesty,
Crab.
I thought this was going to be number 1. So to see it at number 2, I think, did the crab nerfs really affect it that much?
I think it's not so much the crab nerfs, but that Mermaid and Sayu Chongyun has 2 characters that can use Wolf's Gravestone. So every time that I've played MSC or whatever it's called, whenever I've played that and run into a crab, you just get Gravestone and you eat through their shields faster than what they can actually make them. So I think that's mostly what's holding crab back at the moment.
Yeah.
But also like to
I
throw in there, I think it's just that the meta also slowly diverged a little bit, and they also got rid of the what do you call it? The spear synergy that Sino used to have, right? They made it slightly weaker.
Yeah.
I want to say that looking at the CN side of tournaments, Crab is number 1 there. So I would say Crab is still like top 1, 2 comparing with MSC. Since like if you look at the usages on the first column, 19 players use Crab, 19 players use MSC, and their uses by match is 85 and 82. So it just means that like same amount of people use this deck, but it's just that maybe 3 other times that those players didn't show up. So that's all.
Very
It's still,
and
like, very
crab
big
actually has
usage.
higher win rate if you look.
Yeah,
It
Keep it as
also
a
has more
situation.
ties.
oh, more ties, true.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Now that I
Given
think
our
about it,
format,
I think it's a
given our
situation at the
format with
moment
time
of
limits,
Yeah.
I will say, what is it? Yeah, time limits are definitely a factor. However, what is it? If your match is going on for like basically a maximum of 20 minutes, you most likely were going to tie anyway. There's a very high chance.
true.
very
Yeah.
true. Right now, next going down again to the next column, we have Farina, Yoimiya, and Naida. I actually don't know what to call this deck. Was it Naida SC? No, EC?
It is
NEC,
Nikita.
yeah.
Yeah,
It is
NEC
NEC.
or
NEC,
Nikita Bloom.
NEC.
Yeah,
Naida
Nikita
Bloom.
Hyper Bloom.
Wasn't
I'm
the
personally
first... Yes, Takti?
I'm personally really happy this deck is back because it's got a lot of aggro potential, or just you can kind of lean into the mid game a little bit with it. And the Yai buff really did help with that because I think People of the Springs was also a really good buff for this deck, in my opinion, because you're just getting so much more usage for your summons without as much investment, and you can just eat through people in the early rounds.
True, true. Also, wasn't this... The very first version of this deck, if I remember correctly, was with Oceanid, right? Instead of Farina?
Yep.
It was
Yep.
Oceanid instead
Yeah.
of Farina.
All the way back when Nikita
All
was
the
first
way
introduced.
back.
In the
So first we
olden
had
days.
MMEC, which is Mirror Maiden official Oceanit. And then we swapped Mirror Maiden with Nahida, so we got NEC. And it just kept evolving over time with 2 summon characters and Nahida.
Yeah, just like what is it? The main Genshin meta itself, and what we talked about, Burngeon not being that good. Hyper Bloom is pretty good, and while it may not be super the case in this game, putting 2 what is it? Hydro and Electro character plus Nikita who can do AoE damage to the entire team tends to hurt a lot.
Again, back with the SC and EC bringing so much value to the table, I forgot to like add, if you added Naida into the equation, spread damage is just like, what is going on anymore?
Oh, I got Electro charge. Oh, all my characters took 1 piercing damage. Oh, I'm dead.
Oh
Real.
no.
Yeah.
Alright, next deck that we're going to discuss is in the 4th column, Yoimiya-Yelan-Wriothesley. Now, what I think about this deck is basically if Singcho became a woman, and if Ayaka turned into a man. That's basically what this deck is.
Wow, they transitioned. I'm so proud
That's
of
funny.
them.
I am so proud of them. But
Yes,
no,
but this
honestly,
is. Mhm.
I'm actually kind of surprised that an aggro deck made it into, like, this is an aggro deck, like, or is it more considered
It's
to be a
combo.
combo deck? Yeah, it is a
It's
combo
combo,
deck.
yeah.
I think what is it? It's important to kind of mention because we only mentioned this deck a little bit, is because like obviously we're going to talk about the things that were most prevailing in the meta, but Yoimiya and like its slow, not really slow rise, but just like slow pickup rate was a thing that happened, over the NA Prince Cup, and then transitioning over time, they just got more tools, more things, more people to test it. What is it? And now it ended up the deck it is, today, right? With being probably one of the most fun aggro decks out there.
Agreed.
Yeah, it also like stayed in the meta a little because it can actually beat crab. It even has an FTK against crab if the crab player just full equips and stays on crab.
And really
Yeah.
quick for the audience, if someone doesn't mind running down sort of the basic idea behind having, basically two DPSs, 1 coordinated attacker, and the tools they use to make it have so much success.
I can talk about this deck. It's my favorite deck.
Yes,
So
let's go.
you
Let's
have
go!
Yeah, I fucking love this deck. So you have 2 coordinated attackers, Yoimiya and Yelan. And you have 2 DPSs, which is Yoimiya and Wriothesley. So you have like the main game plan is to start Yoimiya, get 3 attacks round 1. There's so many new normal attack synergy cards nowadays with like gladiators, Covenant of Rock, Chef Mao with Intimate rolls, NSC. and you have Yoimiya's talent. So like everything in the deck funnels you into just get 3 attacks with Yoimiya round 1. Of course, there are definitely like counter strategies like Toma, leave it to me, swap into Sino, Pyro Resonance, insta kill. So you have to look out for those. But in those cases, you start with Yelan or like you go Yoimiya, swap Yelan. There are many ways to like pivot the strategy, but the main game plan is you get Yoimiya's burst, get swap into Wriothesley or Yelan, draw some cards, and then elemental skill with Wriothesley, spam normal attacks. So the Wriothesley is just like a better Ayaka because of the -1 cost to his normal attack when he has his status up. So it's just a really good combo deck. You just deal 5 damage per round. You get Wriothesley's burst up, do more cryo damage, and then just kill everyone in 1 round. It's a deck that is like very easy game plan, but it's also very easy to mess up. Because if you don't play your cards correctly, you lose 1 dice, and then you cry because you can't kill the opponent anymore.
It all comes down to that 1 dice.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think that's what made it difficult to catch on in the first place, because I remember a lot. What is it? Because I remember seeing this in the Prince Cup with Shan, and then subsidiarily, people would pick it up, but people are a little scared to pick up aggressive decks like this because you quite literally are hinging on every point of HP. Even if your Wriothesley has innate healing, even if you have a Lotus, it's not a lot to work with, and you need to make sure that you kind of execute perfectly, because if you don't, well, you're dead. Bye.
I think that's a good call, because it has all the times that I've played this deck, it feels like you have a very high skill ceiling, but because of that high skill ceiling, you are rewarded for getting good at the deck. Once you know the matchups, once you know the lines, then you do end up with a deck that just can you win within the first 2 to 3 rounds, and your opponent can't really do anything to stop it.
Any other thoughts about Yoimiya, since it's sort of been a topic that we've left off the table when discussing the previous metas?
It has some good matchups. Against stall, it's just really good, but against aggro, it just cries because you can't sit on Yoimiya for the first round.
That's super true.
So it's like a very, very swing matchup.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I think Eon's internet died. What is it? That's A-okay. What is it?
Eon, no.
Come back.
Hello, mic test.
Welcome
You're back.
back.
Okay.
Get back.
Oh, apologies about that.
No
I didn't
problem.
realize Aja was in my walls, and he decided to disconnect my mic cord.
Because you gave him
Yeah.
a 3. So sad.
I think we're all set with Yoimiya, and I would actually like to skip over to Mona Navia before we talk about the final deck that is sitting in between them, because there's a lot to say about that one. So,
Agreed,
Yeah, true.
agreed.
Fair enough, fair enough. You want to discuss Mona first?
yes, absolutely. So, Mona Navia, we already talked about Navia earlier, and Chiori. What is it? Now, it's interesting that this one popped up on the stat board specifically, because I do play this sometimes, but I don't actually personally see this as a very popular deck in general. But what is it? The general idea, right, is that you have a fast swapper, and you can move around to both of your characters, which is very key. But subsidiarily, you do have Mr. Wolf, who can provide not only a Geo Summon, but also corrosion on the enemy. So they'll take a good amount of damage and also provide you Geo Bullets. What is it? So it was just a faster Chiori of the sorts, in my opinion. And Golden Wolflord is we haven't talked about him. He's a card, right, guys?
He's a card,
Yeah.
definitely.
He
Especially
is
when you get
the-
talent.
He is the designated crab killer.
Yep.
Yep.
Alongside Sayu with Wolf's Gravestone.
True.
They're more classy
Yes.
about it, okay? Wolf out here is just like, all right, we made this card, guys, and we're gonna target that crab specifically, okay? It's gonna do terrible in everything else. However,
True.
If I remember correctly, Wolflord was released on the patch where Crab was dominating the meta scene, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So instead of a nerf, they decided to release a character to quote unquote nerf the guy.
They
Which
tried,
did not
yeah.
do well.
It did not
Eh,
work.
It didn't work.
didn't work. Well, as someone who has religiously used this deck a couple of times on AOC, I think I have a say. I still feel like the Linny version is better than the
Yup.
Mona one. Because it's purely just because of aggro. Because if we're looking at it, if we're looking at it at a mid-range kinda standpoint, I don't really see Mona. Mona is more of like a somewhat, yeah, as the people have already said, Mona is just there to fast swap. I mean, you could combo her burst with Navia's skill if you have really a good amount of bullets in your hands. But other than that, I don't really see the potential in it. I still feel like the Lenny version is a bit better, so I'm kind of surprised why this is in the stats as well.
I think the tier in the stats because people just don't want to deal with crab. But at the same time, since
Yeah.
the weeklies format doesn't like incentivize people running crab, so people just run it because they like Navia, I would think.
Yeah, and it's just easier to find lists for what's popular, so it becomes more popular.
Yeah.
True.
I
It's
think
just
I think
it
the
feeds
biggest thing
itself.
is for Mona is probably comfortability, although you could probably just lump Linny's statistics into this one as well. What is it based on how it goes? Because it's literally one character change and they're trying to effectively hit for the same goal. So
True.
Well, with that out of the way, do you want to go into? Do you want to that I cannot? English is not Englishing. Do you want to deeply dive into this? I don't even know what to call it at this point because
I
yeah,
there's the name and I disagree with the name because I question if YouTube would dislike it. But I will say we will say it at least once, and if we figure out something else, we'll go with it. But good
we could.
old Deet Stick. Oh boy.
Oh boy, good
Oh
old
no.
Shen Bonk,
Mhm.
Xinyan Bonk.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's way more family friendly.
Xinyan
Mhm.
Bonk. In
The
all honesty,
bonkening.
Mhm.
after we are going to discuss this further, but Xinyan did receive a nerf this patch, and seeing her get played so often to the point where it reached to the stats, I'm just like, what's the sauce behind this character? I've been dying to find out.
As a Xinyan main, I was a believer since day one.
This is true. You have always been a believer.
I have
This is
been a
very
Xinyan
true.
main since the start. I played Genshin
I-
because of Xinyan,
Mhm.
and she's garbage.
I mean, I mean, as the name goes, isn't the point of this deck just like getting a weapon artifact round one, and then using courtyard to equip the weapon and just bonk?
No, that's
There's
not
two versions of
this
it.
deck.
There's two
That's
versions,
the
yeah.
yeah.
That's the
Maybe
B-Stick version.
I can talk a bit about this version.
Yes,
Go ahead.
go ahead, go ahead.
This basically revolves around the arcane card Pilgrimage of the Return of the Sacred Flame. Uh, what you basically how this deck works is you skill Yaimiko twice round one, and you swap over to Xinyan and play the arcane. Yaimiko does 4 damage end phase, which means you're guaranteed to proc the arcane on your Xinyan for the next round. And you run basically normal attack dice cost reduction like gladiators or NSC, and you do 3 action Xinyan round 2, which means you get off a burst with the arcane buff. It's 4/2/2, which is like 2 energy facial burst.
True.
Yep, absolutely. And I think
Yeah.
what is it? Because we talked a lot about Xinyan's discard potential earlier on in the meta review. You know, when she was coming out during 4.7, and you know, even subsidiarily, one of her meta decks, right, was after you know her best friend Whale died. It was Apep and the Serpent, right? Despite all the nerfs, but now that we're here, not using the discard, we have not addressed Xinyan's elephant in the room, the burst. My friends, what does her burst do?
Discard everything in hand. Um, deal 3 damage and 2 piercing, 3 piercing, 3 physical damage and 2 piercing damage to the off-field characters.
2 energy and 3 dice, by the way. What the heck? Holy moly.
Insane value.
Also, it gives her a status which does 1 pyro damage when you end your round if you have 1 or no cards in hand.
Which is like the moment you use her burst.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what is it? It's before, when we had like so many characters with like really high HP, like Whale, which I mean is not really a great reference to not call this burst overtuned. Nobody really cared, right? Because she would either die, or serve her purpose. But nowadays, when we're not fighting things, because I think very seldom you'll even have a matchup with this against Crab, right? It's just whoa, that's like what 2 + 2 + 3, so that's 4 + 3, 7 damage across the board is a lot to deal with. And then when you start combining it with everything else in the goal of this deck, it starts to go in a direction that is very scary.
It's not 2 + 2 + 3, by the way. It's since you're funneling everything into round 2. Xinyan
Mhm.
gets 3 actions with the pilgrimage buff. So she does 3
right.
damage with normal attack or E, 3 damage, and then 4/2/2, which is what is that? 6, 10,
14.
14 damage in 1 round.
Yeah.
That's not even
actually kinda
including
good.
Plus the
summons.
status. Plus the status, which also does 1.
Yes.
Yep.
Plus the Yai summons that synergize with her end phase pyro damage. And you just have insane amounts of damage to funnel into your pilgrimage again.
Yep.
So you do that round 2, round 3, and win.
Again.
No, I can't. Actually, speaking of Yaimiko, I wanted to ask you guys, does the characters that go along with Xinyan really that important? Because I saw a couple of variations with Thunder Manifestation, Cube, sometimes even Eula.
That's actually a great point, because we've talked about Xinyan and Yoimiya, and we've yet to mention Signora, who is very much a part of this deck, but we said nothing.
She's literally right there in the center, and we have yet to say a single word about her.
That's
You were
because you
about
don't
to
need
say
to.
you were about to say something, JarNad?
Yeah, what are you gonna say?
So the other thing that Eon was talking about with Yola, that's an entirely different deck list where you run 8 artifacts and 6 or 8 weapons. Try to get Xinyan equipped round 1 and do 3 actions every single round.
I see.
That's Xinyan Beatstick.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
Which is
Kinich,
very
don't say it.
cursed. I'm sorry.
No, you
Xinyan
can
Don't
bonk.
say
say
it.
it.
Don't worry.
No,
It's
I meant
it's
the
not gonna
word.
get. It's
I'm
fine.
worried
You can-
YouTube will bonk us.
Fair.
You can
Alright.
call it Xinyan. Here, to make it easier, you can call it Xinyan Drumstick. Boom, easy.
Real
Okay,
Xinyan
that's better.
drumsticks.
That's better. That's better.
So the problem with Xinyan drumsticks is that she runs like 6 claymores and 8 artifacts. And you want to know what claymores she's running? White iron greatsword.
Oh no, bro.
The 2-cost
Oh,
one. That is
no.
so cursed.
Damn.
Like I saw that
Yeah,
on an actual
mm.
tournament deck list, and I'm like, that is beyond cursed. I don't like this.
Yeah,
I
for
think we
reference,
saw the same
there's
list.
Yeah.
every single weapon type in the game has its cheapest form of a weapon, which is literally just it costs not a lot of dice and it only gives you +1 damage, and that's it. It don't do nothing else.
And that's what Xinyan needs. That's all she needs, because her talent just does whatever she wants.
Mhm.
White Iron Greatsword's also free with the Courtyard, so in a pinch you can just kind of have that boost for free.
That's basically
Yeah.
the deck. It's so dumb.
Actually, I want to point it out. This wasn't. I think this was said like in the previous conversation before, but like, Tokti did bring up a good point. Why not APEP over Signora? And I think, just in my opinion, isn't that like a whole different deck if you put APEP in here?
Yeah.
Yep.
Completely different.
Completely different.
So
true.
I want to go through a bit of history with this deck. Originally Xinyan was the Apep support, so she's there to just discard cards for a pep to summon her smaller peppies. But nowadays she has carved out her own niche, and she's her own character. She's a one-man army. A pep still has his decks. Her decks. It's a her, right?
It's a her, yeah.
Yeah. A pep still has her decks. But they don't run Xinyan anymore because there's way better discard synergies, like the artifact. What's it called? Wanderers. No, is
Troop.
Wanderers? Yeah, Wanderers Troop. QQ and like there's way more ways to discard cards that you can just slot a pep with Yaimiko even. So you get Quicken, which does way more damage than burning.
So that was my thoughts. Is that if you're running Xinyan, Apep, and with Sacred Flame, you're generating more Sacred Flame stacks while adding in more consistent reactions with end of turn summons. So what does La Signora bring to the table as the endgame carry that Apep just can't?
A revive.
Yep, a revive.
And also, you need to get into your weapon early, and Apep simply shuffles his cards into the deck, which makes it harder to get to the cards you need for this more aggressive playstyle.
Yeah, I will note, like, with my time with having like a bit of coaching with Binzu when learning the deck, is that your R1 and R2 cards like matter so much because you intend to end the game that quickly. So if you're having to shovel in 6 more cards that you may not be able to play because you're trying to spend all your dice trying to normal attack or ensure that you Miko summon, it's going to be a little bit of a difficulty in that regard.
Yeah, this is a rare case where the deck runs 6 different dice fixing cards. Like usually we would say dice fixing has been phased out of the meta, but because you won Yai summon twice round 1, this deck just runs every single dice fixing card just to get her to 2 summons.
See, a good way to
Nice.
put it is that what someone said in the tournament chat earlier this week was, "It's too greedy. You are greedy. They talked about this greed in the Bible."
It's considered to be the sin of greed. All right.
True.
So, just an overall thoughts of the stats. I just want to get your overall thoughts of the stats for this patch's GITCG win rate stat. Is that, can I call it that? I don't know.
Yeah, win rate stats or top
Win rate
decks and
stats.
whatnot.
Yep. I would
I
like
think let's
just a quick overall thoughts. Let's start with Minun.
Okay, I overall like this is expected. Like Yai is very good after her buff. Navia has been like at the edge of the meta for the last few patches. So has Ryomiya. Now with Mirror Maiden being buffed and that actually helping with preventing early swaps from Crab, which then helps with the Wolf's Gravestone to shred Crab. Like, it's pretty expected. I still think Crab is the best deck. MSC is very good. Close up, I would say very close behind that, and the stats reflect that. All in all. So, yeah.
So I would say like the current meta is in a good position. There's a variety of decks. Mainly Crab was an issue, and MSC being slightly overtuned. But other than that, there's a lot of different decks that show up and do pretty well. Like if you look at these 6 decks, yeah, they all run different characters, which is really impressive for the current meta. And a few more decks, like as Minun mentioned, Navia's been like on the edge of meta. She's pretty. I would say she's a rogue deck. She can do well in tournaments, but she's not like defining it. There are some other decks that aren't in this table. For example, Bennett, Ajdaha, and Electrocute. Xiao, Lier Armory, Chevreuse, Linny, Scorpion, Overload, and Shen Yun Cookie are still like really good decks. They all do pretty well in this current meta.
I think it's still a good meta that's actually healthy at the moment because you've got a bit of a balance to it. It is still sort of a counter crab meta. I feel like that the meta does just revolve around crab to the point where you're either playing crab, you're playing a deck that beats crab, or you're playing a deck that beats pot or has a good matchup into crab and maybe beats the counter crab if you're expecting people to be playing that. So you're in a situation where there's a lot of healthy decks that do a lot of things, but at the end of the day, the crab and crab decks are still just a problem. And I'll agree with that on that. MSC just feels really overtuned. It goes really well and then it sort of fades out a little bit, and then new things are added or characters are buffed, and the deck just comes back and you have Wolf Gravestone dealing too much damage again.
Okay, I would say the meta this patch has been the most balanced ever since the launch, because this patch every deck kind of works, but also none of the deck really work. Like you can't expect to pick up a deck and start winning every match unless it's a mirror, right? I mean, if you go back a few patches, there was Whale, there was Cookie, Shen Yun, and there was Scrap, which like if you just queue with those decks, you're guaranteed to either win or play a mirror.
Say
Yeah.
what is it? When it comes to this, I would say my thoughts are not too in depth because I've not really been studying meta for these few patches. But what is it? Seeing the spread specifically so far, it's pretty nice. However, I do have a little bit of worry when it comes to the drumstick deck, because I'm sure we'll discuss it a little bit more later as we move on. But what is it? When I end up playing that deck versus everything else, pretty people like consistently just concede by round 2, and I'm like, oh, I see. That cannot be fun for somebody else, huh?
Like I think we need to bring up the Xinyan in the room. Like she is a problem.
Xinyan.
The
Yeah.
Like,
Xinyan in the
from
room.
going from the worst character in Genshin to the most like arguably broken character, like has the most potential in TCG. Like I am so proud of her.
Mhm.
Also very concerning.
Yes,
Amber,
it's
Amber
the-
when? Amber when?
Amber went true.
TCG.
Give her a rework.
Amber when,
TCG is the
bruh.
only game where Kazuo has mid and Dea is a B tier. Insane.
Real.
It's also
And
like I said
Xinyan-
earlier with Whale, where Xinyan can only go up from here depending what cards they make that synergize with discard. Because I
True.
feel like as soon as there's just a really, really broken card, like more cards like Countdown to the Show that just have a on discard effect, Xinyan just shoots up because she's just doing her own game plan that she's already been doing and now just gets free value to support that.
Mhm.
Not to mention that Xinyan, she's doing like her main game stick of being a physical DPS and actually doing well at it.
Absolutely.
That's very
We
No,
have more
I
true.
physical
think what is
That's
DPS
it?
very
in TCG
concerning.
than the main game.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Now, I think this is a good time to pivot to actually something that one of the production staff actually wanted us to highlight is it's the deck list of the top 3 decks that was shown from the previous slide. So this is the first one. In just quick refresher, the top 3 decks was listed as MSC, Mirror Maiden, Sayu, Changyu. The second one was Spicy Crab or Thoma, Sino, and Emperor of Fire and Iron. And the last one is Naida EC or Farina, Frida, Yaimika, and Naida. We'll go over this pretty quickly, but just in case any one of you guys has any thoughts or comments on it, feel free to say it.
No, okay, so yeah, MSC is just a really solid deck. You have draw power with Lieben, Strategize, Sayu's Talent as well. And then you have a lot of artifacts you can discard with Boar Princess, which you just give more actions to Sayu with your Greystone and just mow down your opponents.
Mhm.
Countdown is there, even though there's no discard. Countdown has been a very solid round one card. You play 3 dice and then draw 4 cards. It may seem very expensive, but for the amount of like cards you're digging for, like specifically Wolf's Greystone, this card is just really good.
Actually, before we move on to other discussions, I want to fact check this quickly. Is this a deck list that topped all of the other MSC is that what I say? MSC decks? Or is it just like a combined after the stats were calculated?
I would assume it's like the general like what a MSC deck would look like.
Yeah.
Because like there's definitely
for
some
me-
cards that are ratio like you would change. For example, maybe someone doesn't want to run Sunyata Flower, someone doesn't want to run the 2 countdowns, they want to run Wagner and so on.
True,
An
true.
The deck
interesting
shown is
change
the deck
I've
with the
seen-
most wins, I probably.
An
You were
interesting
saying
change I've
something,
seen
Tati?
is going down either Sunyata or the 1 countdown and going for 2 Sayu talent just to try and have a little bit more front loaded draw on the turns that you are swirling, just that you don't run out of fuel that you need to actually get the win.
Okay, I just got word from prod staff. It is in fact the general deck that you run. So
Fair enough.
it's not what everyone ran during the calculations, but it is like a deck recommended if you want to start using this deck specifically, is what I would say, I think. All right,
Fair
moving
enough.
on.
That looks good for that.
Yes. Moving on. We have the second top 2. Thomas Sino or Emperor Fire and Iron, aka Spicy Crab. I
It's
actually
just
want to
crab.
ask. Yeah, it's just crab, man. I actually kind of want to ask JarNad, since I view him as the overall just the person who actually knows a bit more about the deck. What do you think about the deck list so far?
Okay, first thing I see is where is my Yumkasaurus? No yoink. Uh,
So true.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, it is fairly standard. Other than that, I mean, there's always the Cyano snipe potential with fast swap, either Pyres or Tandoori. Mm, and I mean, you could put either GT or General's Ancient Helm on Sino, one down winery. So you could safely swap in. I mean, once you set up Thoma Burst, you just want to sit on Crab, gain 6 shield, and keep skilling on Crab. And once the opponent has ended turn, you can safely swap over to Sino, use up your GT stacks. And yeah, that's my opinion.
Okay. Any more thoughts from the other casters?
It's a crab.
No, it's
Crab.
crab. It looks pretty standard. It looks like it's gonna
Yeah.
do what you want it to do. So
Yeah,
Looks
alright.
very annoying to deal with.
I think it's a good idea to just move on then. Let's move on to the
Yeah.
final deck list. Yoimiya. Huh? Okay. Yoimiya, Yelan, and Wriothesley, or the aforementioned Yoimiya, but if Yoimiya transitioned.
Uh, I don't agree with some of the ratios. Usually I would run 1 Yoimiya talent, 1 gamblers, and 2 what's it called sweet madams,
gladiators?
because that just breaks
Oh, see, madam.
2 gladiators. Yeah, 2 sweet madams just to like get out of breakpoint while still generating 1 dice. But overall, this looks like a standard Ryomiya deck list.
I think the only thing that I would change is maybe cutting Legend of Vanessa and playing at least 1 copy of Pancration. Because if any deck can abuse Pancration, it's going to be this deck. You consistently just turn it into Pot of Greed, which really does fuel your early turns when you're trying to get there with your Mia on the first turns. or just when you're comboing off with Wriothesley, it just kind of makes your breakpoints a little bit easier, because I've had it before where I've drawn Ball Princess and Gladiator's Trumpus off of Pancration, and then that is what gets me those last final dice to actually get there.
Also,
I see.
possibly add Liban in this deck, just so like after Yoi burst, you can probably just No, wait, you don't run Liban in this deck. No, no, no. I'm speaking. Moving on.
Yep, let's move on. Now, what you see here, I think, if I remember correctly, back when week 2, this was week 2 of 5.4, the TO staff posted a community rating where basically players in the GITCG community get to rate each character that was released so far. And it's just like a tier list of all the characters' places and how they are fair in the meta, and just like overall personal taste. There's too much uh placements to discuss all of them, unfortunately, so we're just going to have to go from top 10 and then bottom 10. So first and foremost, I see for number 1, the most rated character ever is surprisingly Miko, after like jumping from the 78th spot all the way to the first, which is kind of surprising.
Yeah, I think that position is correct.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
seriously
Miko's
correct.
like one of the best.
Yeah. If we could say
I-
specifically what Yoimiya's change was, if you don't mind.
Okay, there was her skill upon the second cast now does 2 damage end phase, and on top of if you have 4 or more usages, it procs twice. So that paired with the Pilgrimage Arcane meant that I mean, in the earlier weeks of the patch, there used to be a Cryo Cube and either Ayaka or Ayato, and you just do 3 actions cube round 2. Like it's a strong deck and it's very easy to play. Like your game plan is very linear. You do this round 1, you swap, and then you do something else round 2.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mhm.
that would be the reason behind her placement.
Yeah.
That seems fair.
True.
I don't think she's the best character, but she's definitely very good. Yeah.
Agreed.
I mean, it's what the community rated on.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
if we consistently rate Miko high, then she's bound to be like the rating is 9.03. That makes sense.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. Next on the placement for number 2 is Emperor of Fire and Iron, or Crab for short. That got up 4 placements from the previous community rating. Not surprising. Again, it feels like it's the right placement for him.
I would
Arguably,
actually place Trap as first.
I mean,
Probably.
I would say like the top 5 you can interchange them. Maybe like the top 2 you can interchange, and then after that it's like the top 10 you can interchange them. Because like it's very close. They're all really rated closely to each other.
Yeah.
I
Very
think
much
I'll agree on
so.
that one as well.
Up next on the 3rd spot, then we have Sino, who got a rate of 8.97 and dropped down 1 place.
Sad.
Again,
Dang, bro, fell off.
bro,
Bro fell off.
a
He's
lot.
trash. Should never play Sino again.
Not my king.
I will forever stand by the Sino Mountain until I die. If there's no more Sino supporters, then I die. That's the explanation.
I see,
But no,
yeah.
like Swenny D has already pointed out, I do agree with the fact that top 5, you can interchangeably change their positions, but in the end, the top 5 is just the best, like, top 5, if it makes sense.
Fair enough.
Okay. Number 4, with a rating of 8.91, and who rose from their 5th spot up to the 4th spot is Bennett. Another not
Unsurprising.
surprising one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Bro will
He
stay
just
meta till
enables
the
so
end
much.
of time. This Yansan character, this Smallvika character, what are you talking about? This character stays meta in every game.
Thank
Yeah.
Real.
God he doesn't have the C6 buff on this TCG. Thank
No,
goodness.
you're thinking the. Oh, I actually no, that would be broken. I think that
Yeah.
Pyro Infusion
Infusion?
would be kind of
Pyro
broken.
Infusion.
I don't know.
Just a Chongyun status from the burst.
Oh my gosh.
Just passively.
Oh my gosh. Wait,
Really quick,
hello?
I wanted to jump back to Sino. What is it? Because I know we discussed his movement in places, but more as the reason as why is that like there are a little more counters to grab, and subsidiary he also lost Chevrolet. So 07, buddy.
Yeah.
Alright. Then actually, now that you think about it, we might have to change the discussion from top 10 to top 5, and bottom 10 to top 5. Apologies,
Mhm.
everyone.
Fair
Okay.
enough.
And
That's-
the last one that we're going to discuss in the top 5 is again another not surprising spot. With a character rating of 8.8.8.8.8.8.888888888, who also rised up to the top by 27 spots, is Woo!
Yeah.
Woo.
Ashla is just good. Just a lot of dice. With
I'm-
like solid damage.
The
Yeah, he's
talent
just
is
a
just
good
one
anchor.
everything. Pretty much, yeah.
Mhm.
Alright.
Yeah, Asia has
Now-
always been consistently good. It's just that with how the meta is right now, people will rate him a lot higher because he's able to also provide those extra dice, which unfortunately have been tossed away because magic is gone.
I mean, he's got a new combo teammate in Chlorine who is also
For
like, I can
real.
see her in the 17th spot. You play Ajdaha
Yeah.
Chlorine with either Singchu or Yelan. It's really good. Like, Chlorine has a lot of damage for really less dice, and Ajda just giving that dice for free is a good deck.
Yeah,
Real.
Clorin. Okay, Clorin is one of the best characters added recently. She's good combo character.
Before I
She's good.
move on to the bottom 5 spot, does anyone have any comments on the character's placements before I move on?
I think we
Some
should, what is
places-
it, before we jump to the bottom 5, because I think the bottom 5 will be pretty short-handed discussion. When it comes to this one, if you want, if everyone wants to rapid fire like one character that is not the ones we already discussed that has an interesting placement, so I think we'll start. What is it? At somewhere at the top. So let's start with minimum.
I am shocked that Barbara is not here.
Oof.
She deserves
She's at
27.
to be better.
She's
27. She's at
27.
27.
Okay. The fact that that's too low. Barbara is so good.
Yeah,
I mean,
agreed.
Sure, Stall is not that good right now in the meta. Sure. But if we're talking individual characters, Barbara is just so much value. She's just so good. And like I don't know about you, but if my opponent in a casual match Barbara bursts, I'm conceding. I'm not
True.
dealing with that.
That's valid.
Like there's if stall was in the meta, like if more people played stall, there's a do nothing stall, which is not Layla, Charlotte, Barbara, and Farina, which you just heal and then chip your opponent for like constant damage.
Mhm. Yeah, it's actually a good
Barbara's just
supplementary to bring
consistent.
up. What is it? All the meta decks that we existed, not a lot of them are stall. Because, like, I mean, Crab obviously is there, but then when you have Mr. Nuke in town with Sino, it makes it really hard to play any form of traditional stall as a result.
True.
And like even like Xinyan just does so much damage that Stall has trouble keeping up with that. Even though it is aggro and Stall is traditionally good against aggro,
Mhm.
it's just if you're doing 15 damage in one round, even though you don't have much setup, that's just hard to deal with if you are a deck that slowly gains value over time.
Yeah,
Fair
absolutely.
enough.
Yeah, jumping over to 20DX, is there any interesting statistic that was not one of the ones we had discussed already?
Overall, I'm fine with all these placements because like top 30 is all these characters are just consistently very good. However, there is one character that I disagree with the placement, which is Navia.
Ooh.
I'm sorry, she's hard carried by Chiori and Wolf. I just don't agree with her placement.
I
She's a
agree
very
with
good
that.
scrub killer, that's all.
I just think Barbara was more important to talk about, but yeah, Navia should not be that high.
And
Actually, yeah, you go ahead. You go. Sorry.
sure, one character that I would personally after I voted here on this ranking list, and after this discussion on stream, I would bump Mona down, honestly. Like, she hasn't been, aside from her fast swap, she hasn't been that that impactful in a lot of decks recently.
Yeah. Hear me out. Swap Mona and Barbara.
You know what? I kind of agree with that placement. Yeah.
That would work.
Individually, it's a very hot take, but
Yeah.
I would agree.
That is a very hot take, because I highly disagree.
Fair. All right, moving on. Takti, you go.
Let's move on. Talk to
So my hot take here is that Shenha should probably be where Cryohypostasis or Guardian of Apex Oasis is, just because in weapon decks she basically warps Cryo around her. That even with Navia, you can run funny decks that you buff Navia's bullet damage with her summon. The
To
fact that she's
peanut
able
gallery,
to
yeah.
the fact she's able to buff the swole that Zhao can do, she can provide freeze for a weapon deck and physical damage boost as well. I think she's just a really value character since Armory is good into a lot of the decks that are around at the moment. I think she just should be higher.
Agreed.
I absolutely agree with you, because even all of this meta talk and whatnot, because most of our stuff is based off single deck statistics. What is it? During the Fanta Cup, we still saw Leeway Armory like all the way through, right?
Luger Army is just consistently good deck.
And I think like that's the thing is Shenha is the anchor to that. Like the deck is so much better because of her that you have that aggro threat with her and Zhao, or you can just freeze lock opponents.
Fair enough. How about you,
I
JarNad?
would agree.
Okay, I'm looking at Sayu Chong, and that's way too low. Like, just previously, we talked about how it's the most used deck, and yet their ratings is low. I mean, what I think might be the reason is it's pretty complicated to play, especially when compared to like, Yaimik or Bennett combo decks. Is when do you want to swap out to Sayu? When do you want to full equip her and start rolling? Or when do you want to just move around your characters with the constant freeze threat? But I would say, like, especially Chongyun deserves to be higher.
I think you do point out a really interesting factor, JarNad. This is community ranking. Obviously, the players who play TCG are the ones who have the right to vote in this community rating. And we did discuss MSC, how like mechanically and technicality good it is, but some players might find it hard to play or even go up against, honestly. So I understandably and not understandably see why they're ranked this way.
I think I'll throw one thing into there is that I agree Chongyun should definitely be higher. And I think part of that is, of course, there are dozens of factors that could be what you just listed for why players rate the things the way they do. But one of the takes I saw a really long time ago that's not included in this meta is that, because Chongyun's been there for such a long time, is that Chongyun, what is it? The take was that Chongyun tends to be carried by his deck choice or his partners more than he carries the deck with themselves. And that one, I mean, over time, right? It's like, it could be true, maybe a little bit, because if like, what is it? If MES is not really meta, then he doesn't really have another place. But if he's been able to work with what he has for the longest time, ever since the start of the game, it can probably be considered that he is a pretty good character and should be pushed up a little bit more with his placing.
Chongyun's like a
Yeah.
very good baseline cryo character, I would say. He just
Yeah.
does the simplest things, but at the same time supports his team and just works well.
Cryo infusions
I-
on normals are deceptively good sometimes.
Yeah, I
True.
was about to say, I think giving access to cryo to characters that don't naturally have that access to that element is very valuable.
How about you, Kojo? Do you have any thoughts?
Let me see here. I think there's sometimes what is it when it comes to some of these character picks like Layla and Clorinde, right? Because we did point that out a little bit. Is that their position? Obviously, because Clorinde is new, she's gonna have not a lot of people who have had the chance to play her, and more importantly, Clorinde has not been able to show off too much inside of our weekly tournaments. But these characters, surprisingly enough, I think what is it? Layla is slowly dropping off just because stall isn't too prevalent, but then she may have some places here and there. And then Clorinde, being already rated pretty high despite not having too much of a showing. And of course, I call it high because we have how many characters in the TCG now? Like over 100. Like it's it's a lot of characters. So making it in the top 17 on your first debut patch is not bad.
Very not bad. Agreeable. If I can say one thing about this top 30, I don't think Chiori should be here. She only works on one specific deck variety, and that is Navia carry. I don't know. I just don't feel like she should be here in the top 30. Or
I
Farzan
mean,
either.
there's also Chiori stall, but like that's not doing much better.
Pepela, it's stall.
I would say Farazan is
Yeah.
okay. She's consistently high damage.
Yeah, Farzan's fine. It's just her meta team can't work out, but it's okay. It's not her fault.
True.
I mean, Farazan works against a lot of top decks this patch. One deck that I've played is the Mona Shen of Farazan. And you have two game plans. You can either start Mona and threaten freeze on round 2, or you can start Shenha and threaten high damage Farazan Swells. Like it works against both combo decks and aggro decks. That's my opinion.
Fair enough. Alright, next slide, please.
We got some very
Yep.
funny statistics. Oh boy.
Here we
Oh,
go.
boy.
Bottom 5, everyone. Very interesting cards here. Alright. I did not know if you hear that clap, but I'll do it again. So, officially announcing the bottom 5 from the 104th spot up to the 108th spot. So, on the 104th, is that how I say it? 104th? I
Yep.
don't know.
Yeah.
104th spot with a rating of 3.04 and who immensely dropped to I cannot read TCG and reading 34 places is Hydrohilichurl Rogue. I can TCG and reading Rogue.
I would like to apologize to Sino for falling off one place. Bro did not fall off. This guy fell off into the abyss.
True.
Yeah.
I guess what I can say about Rogue is it definitely like as 20D has said before, people were like crazily thinking about the technique that he has offered, but like looking overall at his overall kit, it just doesn't really fit.
Yeah.
His
I mean-
entire kit is very basic, and then he just offers that one technique. That is all.
Yeah,
Yeah,
true.
We sort of talked about it that like 20 didn't even remember he existed.
True.
I mean that's telling enough.
True. And I
I
just
think-
made a deck with him a week ago, just for like
That's
memes.
funny.
And I forgot about him.
confirmed this.
Yeah, I mean, just very basic. The whole kit revolves around the technique, and the technique just isn't very good. So, yeah.
Question:
I think. Mhm.
if the technique was instantaneous, how would we think about this character?
I would hate him.
Way
I would
better.
hate him with my life.
He would be way better.
Yeah.
I think a nerf would be coming as emergency nerf like a week in.
Yep.
Yeah,
mean-
hot patch.
What is it? He
basically-
would be played in freeze, and then you would have like a freeze lockout combo where it's just like, okay,
Yeah.
I can't apply Hydro or Cryo to you, but I can apply this really cool thing called my Elemental Burst, and now you can't move.
funny.
I mean, it's basically at that point you just have the card in hand and you have an instantaneous no setup freeze whenever.
Yeah,
Like,
that sounds toxic.
Layla
It
was
sounds-
for a long
You tell your
time
opponents?
good because you could set up a freeze easily with her. And that still requires setup. Now, this would basically, once you have the burst, you have that freeze whenever you want, no further setup. Just play the card, activate the technique, and instant freeze.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
All right, up next on the 105th spot with a rating of 2.94 and has dropped from 15 places below, still not worse than Rogue, is Yanfei. And can I just say, Yanfei being this low it's not deserved. I just
It's a
feel like
crime.
it's a crime to see Yanfei at the bottom 5.
If Lyric
I'll
was here,
disagree.
they would be crying. As contrary to popular belief, Lyric is not a Diona main; they're a Yanfei main.
Huh?
Yes.
Yep.
Huh?
I am shook.
That's true.
Leoric only started playing Diona aggressively, so it wasn't even like in a stall kind of way.
Yes. But
I know that. I know that.
Yanfei.
Pyro Diona was the thing that he created.
Yeah, Yanfei was just dealt a bad hand because you're in the slot for the type of character for Pyro that is always competing with each other because who doesn't love big damage? And then when you have someone who's also a Pyro Catalyst named Klee and you have almost the same mechanic but you try to be different and quirky, it doesn't work out for you.
So I
Mhm.
was
Yeah.
gonna say that as well, and I'll agree on that. That I was literally speaking about Yanfei yesterday, and she's barely got any identity. Her normal attack reduction, or for the charge attack reduction, being on burst hurts a lot more than Klee, who just gets it on skill. You've got to invest a lot more in Yanfei to kind of get the same outcome that you would with a lot of other characters. So I think she's just probably the worst or one of the worst characters for Pyro, which is a hot take, but
Takes.
Yeah,
I
you
mean-
mentioned on your stream that Shanfei does have an identity. It's tied to her talent. That's the main problem.
That's
True,
crazy.
true.
If her talent was in her base kit, arguably she would be a good option for a lot of Pyro decks.
I kind of forgot how
Mhm.
her talent was.
She got a new talent that draws her a card.
Oh yeah, she
So
was part of the
Basically Yelan. That's basically
Almost,
Yelan.
yeah.
Yeah. That's
Pyro
the thing
Yelan.
they add to anyone when it's like I don't know what to do. Give them make them
Give
draw a
them a
card.
draw. Give them a discard.
generic
Uh,
value. You love to
Mhm.
see it.
Yep.
But yeah, if she
It's-
got that, I would definitely shoot her up into like top 50.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Um,
very
It's just
unfortunate
good.
in her position. I think she's literally only here because just nobody has a place to really fit her in when she's built like a traditional DPS, which
Like, she
TCG
came out-
clearly doesn't need to be like that.
The main problem is she came out after Klee.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oof.
fair, true. All right, on the 106th spot with a rating of 2.89, who also got a pretty unimaginable downfall, is my boy, the doggy general of Inazuma, Goro.
Everyone say it with me, Geobad.
Geobad.
Yeah. Yeah, bad.
I mean, I don't know. As someone who really enjoyed playing Goro with Ito, I hate to see him here in the bottom 5.
That's the problem. Like, he needed his support was too much setup for a little payoff. At that point, you
Yeah.
just whack twice with Ito and like you get the even more damage than what you would get at setting up Goro.
Yeah, I think
Yeah, Goro is just not worth it.
Yeah.
he came a little bit too late, right? Because he passed the big bin meta, right? And right, his like whole gimmick is to buff geo damage, and of course, just the way main game Genshin went, they're like, oh man, geo characters aren't doing too well. We're gonna stop releasing geo characters for like 2 years. So as a result, in the TCG, even with geo characters being released through the form of monsters, it's not really enough to help you at all when you're specifically made to only buff Geo.
I mean,
I mean,
for even for monsters, we have like Wolflord, which is very new. Ajna, which doesn't want another Geo character,
Mhm.
very specifically, and we have another monster that we're going to talk about in a second.
Oh yes.
Oh, that's funny.
yes. Speaking of monster, thank you for the wonderful transition, Minun. At the 107th spot with a 2.82 rating, and who also dropped 11 spots from their original spot back in 5.0. Still not worse than Rogue, is Stonehide Lava Churl. In all honesty, I forgot about this guy.
How the mighty have fallen. Oh man.
Yeah, this boy was meta at one point.
This was meta
My
back. I think,
boy,
wasn't this meta back in 3.3 at the start of TCG?
Yes, because of
Yes.
Kenki.
yeah. My
Mhm.
very
Okay.
first deck I ever built was a Lava Troll deck.
Yes.
Also, like
The-
Geo can like being the only other Geo option other than Noel and Ningguang. He can just kamikaze and just go bonk,
Mhm.
big damage.
Okay,
Yeah,
hear me
pretty much.
out. Hear me out. Lava Troll walked so Xinyan could run.
No, that's crazy.
That's
Oh.
indeed a hot take.
That's
Wait.
really hot take.
But
But
hey,
yeah,
there
no.
is still hope because for every character that was bad, that had another character come out that was similar to them, they got a rework. And there's 2 more Lava Trolls that are different elements that could come out. So there's hope.
Yeah,
Hope?
with Eremites being on the table,
Yeah.
Lava Troll could get a rework, and I'm hoping for that.
Mhm.
Please.
Oh,
Why
so
is
what
his
was-
so when are we
talent so
playing-
bad? And
No,
his
the
when are
fact
we
that
playing
his
Lava
shield
Troll?
gets crippled by swirl and geo
Yeah.
damage just cripples him so badly.
why does he
no.
take double geo damage to his shield?
It's funny.
And why is the only way to refresh it not to use his
Ah.
burst, but to kill after you used his burst with talent once? Which also, the talent makes the burst more expensive. Why? Why do the talent would already be bad if it made the burst cost not increase, but it also makes the burst cost 4 dice. Why?
Okay, hear me out. Hear me out. What if they turned it out like Agent, and when he skills, he gets, instead of +2, it's +1 shield.
Huh.
That would definitely be better, but like
Yeah, that'll be way better. He would be slightly worse than Seahorse.
yeah.
Instead of Seahorse being a tank, he can be like a berserker. You just like get more shield and then just whack a lot of damage. I
Yeah,
can
the
see that
damage
being a good
fine.
buff.
Fine. Okay, so we will now move on to the 108th spot. If you're here, I would honestly just quit the game. With a score of 2.75, with a rating of 2.75. And this is also another character who got dropped by 11 spots, is Fatui Electro Season Mage.
It's
I agree with her
Cryo
being
Cryo?
bottom
not
5.
Electro.
I did not say Cryo because I refuse to believe this is a character.
Yo,
Damn.
dang!
Oh,
That's
Damn.
insane.
Hot take. This character adds nothing to the table. Why did she
No,
get negated?
I completely disagree. She had a great meta deck, and then
Yeah.
that meta proceeded to never come back again.
I actually think she does not deserve to be the lowest.
yeah, I don't agree.
Like,
I maybe given her a 3, but I don't think she's bottom 5.
yeah.
She's bad,
Oh,
but like
vibes.
there's definitely worse.
I would not be
Honestly,
surprised if most of her ratings were that people didn't know that she existed. That's the
I
only
think
reason.
the biggest issue is that her summons disappear if she gets
Yeah.
elemental reaction. Just take away
Yeah.
that one and she'd be a good cryo summon.
Yeah,
Mhm.
actually.
So, yeah, so Before we move on to the next topic, I would like to quickly ask all of you if if you had the chance to change someone's bottom placement and replace it with another character, who would it be and why? Mine and you go first, and then we work our way down.
Okay, I think Albedo should be lower. I see him there. I know he's already near the bottom, but I actually think he's worse than his placement. I would even say he's worse than Cryoseason Mage. He's definitely worse than Yanfei.
Any D?
Say like
Oh wait, mine and you wanted to say something?
I mean, like, I think he was already bad, and then they gave him a quick swap on his summon, which I think was a nerf. I'm still
That's
of
funny.
the opinion that it was a nerf.
Alright. 20D?
I would argue. Okay, one character I don't see at the bottom that should be at the bottom, D-Luke. Because
D-Luke.
every other Pyro character just does whatever D-Luke does, but better.
Fair enough.
And
Yeah.
one character that doesn't deserve to be here, Oceanit.
I see what you mean. Number 96.
Actually, I agree with that.
I would say
Yeah.
she's like middle, like maybe top 40, not top 40, top 50. But she's not bad. She's still good.
I mean, I feel
It's
like
just
the
that
only
she's
reason...
outclassed by Verena. But like you still have access to abyssal summons. You can run Verena in a healer in a stall deck and run Rodea in a summon deck. There's like way more options.
I think the advent of giving us summon support finally, without having it be something super unbalanced,
Yeah,
would
true.
start to bring someone like this character back.
Hot Spring O'Clock just made Rodea like infinitely more better than before.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah, I agree.
that Amber and Cryosystem should swap places because Amber offers you legitimately nothing. I don't think I've ever seen Amber actually be good. She's a weird mix between trying to do what Dia is doing while still trying to have damage. So like she just ends up trying to do too much and ends up with nothing at all.
Okay, yeah, I agree with
Mm,
that.
Agreed.
In all honesty, I'm surprised Amber is higher than Rogue.
No,
No,
I
Rogue
disagree.
stays down
No,
there,
no,
but
I still think Rogue is worse.
No, I
Yeah.
meant like Amber is higher than him. But when she should be lower. Rogue stays there, I get it. But
No, I
feel
still think
Amber
Rogue
should
is
no,
be
lower.
be
Rogue
lower.
is gonna go down if we
No,
redo this
if
Actually,
one. I
Amber's
think
going
Rogue-
down, Rogue is also going down. I think Rogue is worse.
Believe the cooking. Believe the cooking.
I actually think Amber is like fine. She's definitely bad, but she's not like the worst character bad.
Yeah.
You can do funny nuke stuff with her talent at the very
Mhm.
least. And people don't
At
expect
least he
it
has an
because,
identity.
like, people don't
talent.
expect the nuke because who plays Amber? Nobody knows what Amber does. Nobody knows what her talent does. Nobody knows she can nuke.
Those who believe.
I mean, Toxie, if you were given the chance, what would you change about Amber?
That I'm actually not even sure what to fix. Like, I don't know where to approach. I think her kit should just be redesigned from the base up and maybe have her deal more damage. Like, be unique and have Baron Bunny deal 3 damage. Have like 2 usages, 3 damage end phase. I honestly have no idea how to improve her kit.
Fair enough. How about you, JarNad?
Mm,
We're going to
Kaya's
JarNad.
too low. Kaya long range for the win. True. Like
I should have known. I should have known.
Kaya long range, ain't no way. I mean, he has been meta for a point. Like stall was like Kaya stall was existed, but now I don't think. No, he's not bottom. I would say that.
Okay,
No.
you lost me there. Kaya stall? Since when,
Yeah.
brother?
It existed
Got
It
freeze.
existed.
No.
It's
in our
off meta. It's off
in our
meta.
hearts.
He doesn't know.
If you can
You-
freeze, you can stall.
You play Aquila, Kaya, Talent, and Tenacity.
Based.
The healing tank.
Oh,
A sauce.
true.
oh, I
Actually, no.
forgot about his
Actually, no.
talent.
He was played even before Tenacity release. We used to play Silver Lucky Dog.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Lucky dog. Oh my god.
Man, the amount
Oh.
of things I would give to go back to simpler times. If,
That was 3
back
years
when,
ago. We are
fair
old.
enough. We are
Yeah.
old.
You're old, oh boy.
Oh no. How
I'm
about you,
crumbling to
Kojo?
dust.
That's it. To pick a character that nobody has picked out because it's not really on the list is that I can see Kave is currently number 82 and he's dropped 28 places, and I'm fairly certain as we give it a few more patches, bro is going to be probably at the bottom.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Yeah.
Wait. Kave over Amber, really?
What is it? No, I mean, Amber I'm unfortunately very biased with, and that I think her kit is fine. She probably just needs a talent card redesign. What is it? So what is it? She at least has an identity, like what everyone else said, and then everyone else below that, it's like we have no identity, or what is it? The meta screwed us over way too hard.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
agreed.
I
Okay.
actually don't know if Amber is better than Kave is a hot take. I don't know if I believe it, but I want to say it.
Funny.
I mean, maybe next time to fit the theme, whenever we say a hot take, we take a shot of hot sauce.
Oh, so we're doing hot
Oh my
ones now.
God.
Okay.
Hot ones.
Hot
Let's
ones.
go.
Let's go.
The
GIT
show with
GITCG hot ones.
wings and even hotter
Yes.
questions, even hotter
Let's go.
takes.
Hey.
Yo.
Okay.
Personally, I think Kave being at the bottom is thematic since you never bring him, so he's always the stay-at-home husband.
Dang.
Okay.
Dang.
Okay.
That's crazy.
Speaking of housewife, does anyone remember Al Haytham being released into the game?
I do.
I do.
I think
I like
casuals
it.
like Alhaitham. I
Yeah.
don't like him. He's kind of mid.
Okay,
He is
hot
mid.
take. Hot
Yeah.
take, but I think Al Haytham should be should be here in this list. Not gonna lie.
Nah, he's middle.
Nah.
He's not
Yeah.
completely bad. He
I
at least
mean-
has an identity.
He's
Yeah.
niche.
Niche.
Yeah.
Fair
Yeah.
enough.
He's a very
Agreed.
niche guy. It's because like now that this like Genshin metagame is trying to step away from Dendro and stuff, like he did not really have the chance to shine with all of his like normal attack reductions, and even when the normal attack section came around, Dendro's not really the one to do that with Quicken. It's gonna be the hard hitting elements like Cryo, Pyro, and Hydro. So
Yeah.
fair
There's
enough.
the new artifact that was like added, but way too late. It's like the Dendro
Yeah,
artifact.
flop.
yeah,
Yeah,
It's good with them.
they added that and like it didn't do anything.
Yeah.
It was
but,
so funny
but it's
they did
actually
that.
good with him.
Yeah, it's like no, it is the artifact that was made for him, but like no one
Yeah.
used Kave and no one used Alhaitham, so like it just never got used.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. All right, so with that out of the way, I would like to now move on to the next topic, which is the GITCG statistics for the Chinese side. Unfortunately, I don't know where the stats exactly got the stats. Maybe in Fonta. Can I get a check on where exactly these?
It's
stats came
probably
from?
a Summoner Summit because they have the data compilation there.
Ah,
There's Mars Cup, Lunar Cup, and Resonance Cup. So those are collected
Oh.
from these tournaments.
okay, I see. Unfortunately, we aren't. I don't think we have that much time to be able to like thoroughly dissect this.
You can run
But
through this pretty quick.
yeah, I guess so.
Mostly discussed
Um,
all of these by now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think let's target any deck that like we haven't really talked about specifically.
Yeah, sure.
I think we're gonna talk about the Bennett combo deck.
Which one? There's a lot of.
I mean, all of them, because Bennett is the one that enables all of them.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So there's Ajdaha who provides dice, and then you have like a prepare skill character who just does a lot of damage. That's about it.
That's really about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A deck that caught my attention was Chevreuse Scorpion. That seems quite spicy, honestly.
Oh yeah, wasn't this deck popularized around this patch as well with the overload thing?
It was popular in the early patch, I think.
Yeah.
The Japanese
it's
players
been
were
around for a
using
bit.
them.
All right, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not bad. Just didn't caught on.
No. Yeah.
I
So you
mean,
have Scorpion to discard Chevreuse balls, and then Lenny does decent damage, decent summon.
fair enough. I think from what we can observe here, the top 5 decks shown in this are kind of similar to what we've already seen, like Spicy Crab, MSC, Bennett Combo, Xinyan Drumstick. But actually, no, top 4. But in the 5th spot, I see Yaimiko, Concentrated, and APEP. What's that about?
Oh, I mentioned Yae was run with Apep instead of Xinyan.
Yeah.
It's because like there's way more options for action cards to discard effects. So you have like Yukusor, Wandering
I have a
Trope.
hot take though, and I get clowned for this hot take a lot, but I actually think this deck is bad. I
To
think
each their
there's
own.
I just think there's better Yai decks and there's better Apep decks. So why play this deck if you could play a deck that's better for Yai or better for Apep? Like
Fair.
you're not making 100%. You're not making 100% of out of both characters. So why not just play a deck that focuses on one of the characters?
Yeah, fair enough.
That's my take.
That's your hot take. Now take a shot of hot
Yeah.
sauce.
I
No, I'm kidding.
I-
I'm kidding. Don't do that. Don't
Mine
actually
immediately
really
goes to
do
his
that.
kitchen.
The silence
So-
was screaming a lot of things.
for this very situation, I have prepared a ghost pepper.
Oh
No,
shit!
no.
No,
Put it back. Put it back at
Watch
the
All
me
right,
die
guys,
on
stream's
stream.
over. Someone
Oh.
died on stream.
Minimum
Yet
has
call the
died.
ambulance.
How
Call the
unfortunate.
ambulance, but not for me.
All right. Any other decks that people want to point out? Because I think we have one more very important topic that we would want to get to. I think minimum in particular. Don't die, because that topic is you're gonna like it.
Yes.
I know.
Let's go.
I've been waiting.
Yeah, I think
Are
we
we
need
Just
to
waiting
move
for this
on.
one. Let's
All right,
just
let's
move
hop
on.
into it. Let's go.
Let's
Let's
go.
hop into it, ladies and gentlemen. I present
Let's
to you
go.
the 5.5 TCG update patch notes.
It
And
just
I-
dropped
I-
like 3
updates?
hours ago, like when we
Insane.
before we
Yeah.
started stream.
Before
Yeah.
we started
No,
stream,
5 hours ago.
It's 5
2QB
hours now.
pinged the chat. Okay, sorry. Before a few minutes before stream started, 2QB pinged the chat. The patch note updates just dropped, and I felt minun tweaking. In all
Yeah.
honesty, I felt him quiver. I felt him shiver. I just feel like you're just so ready to talk about this, dude. So,
Yeah.
since are you okay with like
As-
giving a rundown of her kit then?
Yes. First off, as an Emily main, we are winning. Her set is going into the strongbox next patch. I can farm it and strongbox it at the same time. Let's go. And she's getting released in TCG, and she actually looks good. Okay, I think I have her kit memorized.
So
Um,
based.
But I also have it. I have actually prepared for this. I have it open here, so I can look it up. But yeah, basically, average normal attack. She does 2 physical damage. With her skill, which costs 3 Dendro dice, she summons her Lumidos case, which does 1 Dendro damage during the end phase, and it has 3 usages and can stack up to a maximum of 6. But once a burning reaction is triggered, her Luminos case levels up to level 2 and does 2 Dendro damage during the end phase. Her burst simply deals 1 Dendro damage and summons a level 3 Luminos case, which deals 1 Dendro damage to all opponents. So not just the active character. So similar to Kinich's summon, but instead of just 2 characters, all 3. Her passive reads when you trigger a burning reaction and the field enters. After the next time either side uses a skill, it triggers 1 time, which does use the usage, and that can happen up to twice per round. Her talent costs 1 Dendro and equips to her with a quick action, so not a combat action. It turns all of her physical damage into Dendro damage, and after Emily uses a normal attack, with this card equipped, her summon triggers 1 time. So, which also consumes a usage, by the way. So yeah, it looks pretty good. I predict Nahida, Linny, Emily being very good. Which also was in the stream, but yeah.
I think close to that, I was thinking now looking at Emily's kit, I would probably think that Finale in some form is going to come back. Because dealing damage to all sides, they can't escape it. They're going to take the damage at some point.
I mean, I'm definitely going to try a lot of different stuff. I'm going to have a lot of fun with cooking different decks.
Yeah,
So,
Emily
yeah.
just looks really solid.
Yeah.
What Kinich hoped he could be.
Real.
True.
Like,
Okay,
the
before
thing with
Kinich
Emily
hate is
is
crazy.
Lily is definitely gonna be his best. It would be her best support summon, because like just consistent
Yeah.
burning.
And consistent extra pyro.
Yeah,
Right.
she's gonna be a good character next match.
all right, so before we move on to the next character, I would like to do what we did on the 5.4 cards and give them a rating of 1 to 10 based on the kit. I mean, physically we haven't seen what they're capable of doing. Just think about it as like theoretically or hypothetically give them a rating out of 1 to
Pre-patch
10.
ratings.
Yeah,
Let's see how
pre-patch
wrong we
ratings.
are.
True.
Yeah. Let's come back
Uh,
next patch and see.
We'll come back like 2 weeks from now and then immediately cringe our decisions.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So, mine and you go first.
Well, okay. I would say 10. For obvious reasons.
Totally not biased.
Totally
Not
not
biased, of course. But realistically, I think she's going to be, even putting my bias aside, realistically going to be really good. We have gotten a lot of summon support, and her triggering burning that much, she's just going to be really solid. So I would say at least an 8, but I'm going to, of course, I can't put my bias aside completely, so between an 8 and a 10.
I'm gonna say that since her burst is just like better Kinich burst, and I mean it does the same thing as Kinich's burst, but since it's easier to access, since she doesn't have techniques, and like she runs with a lot of support summons, I think she could be a lot better than Kinich, and I see her a solid like 8. Has potential.
I personally think 8 as well. Just having the ability to deal Dendro to all opposing characters just feels so abusable, and that there is going to be something that can break it. Like, as soon as we have a summon, I'm not sure if Arenas doesn't hit multiple characters, it only hits active, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if we have a summon, or if we can figure out a way to get multiple characters hit in the end phase, then you just get multiple reactions. She synergizes really well with Hot Pot O'Clock as well, because you're going to be playing her in summon decks as well. I think 8, maybe 9 is just a solid call for this early.
Okay. I would also give her an 8. On one side, her being a summon character means you get the damage, you get really backloaded damage. But also her talent and passive just gives tons of app like Dendro app, Pyro app. So that might speed up the damage. It's really hard to say without playing.
I'm mostly with a reserve take. What is it? Currently a 7 out of 10. What is it? I think the application alone is going to be potentially very devastating. What is it? And I think that's kind of where my sentiment mostly lies. But also, as to most things go in TCG, you don't know until you test it. So, we'll have to see that when it actually happens.
Win. Sorry. I would probably give this character. Yeah, I agree with most of the points made here. Definitely an 8 out of 10. Can't wait to see what they do in the future. So, next character that's going to be released alongside Emily is Kachina, which is I'm a character that I was really excited for, since another Geo character. I know Geo is I know Geo is like the worst.
It's been 100 years.
100 years. Yeah, but can we get someone to quickly analyze her kit as well?
Alright, can we bring up?
See, the secret is that nobody analyzed her kit beforehand because she doesn't have a lot of friends. Exclamation.
No,
Oof.
don't put it like
Sure.
that, Grandpa.
Oof.
Okay.
You didn't
See,
have to
here's the
put it
thing.
up like that.
I woke up, right? Looked at Emily's kit, went to go make coffee, and forgot to look at Kachina's kit.
No,
Alright, I'll go to Kachina then. Girl deserves some love.
I'm
Alright,
going
so
to be honest, I also
normal attack,
scrolled.
2 physical damage, skill, 2 geo, attach Turbo Twirly to herself, enter Night Soul Blessing, gain 2 Night Soul points. She gains the technique Turbo Twirly. When this character switches out, consume 1 Night Soul point and summon 1 Let It Rip. The summon Let It Rip deals 1 geo damage and then deals 1 piercing to the next off-field character. And then her burst is a 3 geo, 3 energy, deals 3 geo damage and creates Turbo Drill Field status, a combat status. Her Turbo Twirly and geo damage gains +1 damage. No, her Turbo Twirly gains +1 geo damage and +1 piercing. And lastly, we have her talent card is whenever Turbo Twirly or Let It Rip is triggered, draw 1 card. Twice per round.
I now
it's 1
see
geo.
why people. I now see why people are so uninterested about Kachina.
No.
I actually think she's solid.
Okay, question. What does her technique do? Like, I read it. It says when she switches out, consume 1 Night Soul point and then summon it to Let It Rip. But then
Yeah.
it's 0 cost, and it doesn't do anything on activation.
Yeah.
It's basically just swap her and get a Beyblade reference.
So, wait, how does she get energy? How does she get the 3 burst?
By
From
using
Yeah,
the element
'cause
skill.
techniques don't do energy, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, techniques
Yeah.
don't give out energy.
the
Oh,
fact that she's
no.
3 energy, I just read it and I was like, wait, 3 energy, how does she get
That's
that?
cooked. Oh no.
She is so
What?
cooked. She can't use her elemental skill after entering Night Soul. So you need to
Wait.
use up her Night Soul or normal attack. Which sounds so
Okay.
bad.
The
only
only
way
thing I thought about that sounds bad. The only thing I thought about just now, okay, draw on talent, and she synergizes with Zhongli, and Zhongli is getting buffed. So that works, but like, yeah, that's
Her
not
kit is
great.
very like no synergy whatsoever.
At least her skill
only
only
way-
costs 2.
I mean, true.
only
It's
way-
like two for like what 4 damage.
Yeah,
that-
that seems about right.
I
The
think
only
what
way I
could-
can see her,
Tactical.
the only way I can see her being good is if you're playing her with Dawn Winery and maybe Rosaria talent, but that's just going through a bunch of hoops for a nothing burger.
I mean,
Okay.
you could play like what you would do with Chiori stall, where you play her with Zhongli, but I think Chiori is still just better there.
I think she's more of a character that you don't necessarily care about the burst, because there are some characters in the game where it's more valuable if you get their skill off than their burst. I think that's what they're trying to do here, but I don't really see why they they
Yeah,
did it
her
on
summon.
Kachina.
As we mentioned
I mean-
before, look at the bottom characters. They're all Geo. And
Well, two of them.
and there's also Albedo.
Albedo's also near
Ooh.
there, yeah.
Yeah,
two
and
of
they're
them.
all what they have common. They have some Geo summon except for Lava Troll, and all of them are pretty bad.
All right.
True.
Before we move on to the next topic, what are y'all thoughts? What's the rating for this one for Kachina?
I
You
think
go first.
let's
Minun.
do a quick fire number rating because I think we're mostly in
yeah.
agreement in what her what her is. So no thoughts. Let's do just quick number rating. Let's go with minimum.
3.
1.
She gets a 10 because of Beyblade reference on her technique.
You're not
Whoa,
fair.
the highest
based.
rating she's ever gotten.
The
JarNad.
roasts keep going.
2.
Ooh.
3.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Honestly, 0.
I was
Yeah.
considering
It's a 1 to
saying 0,
10,
but you
come
said
on.
it first.
Come on. I reached the impossible. Come on now. All right.
And you
come
said she doesn't have friends. How could you?
I know, right? Eon's a hater. Come on now.
Hey, fine.
No denying.
Oh,
I
no.
No
cannot
denying.
I cannot offend the allegations, Your Honor. All right.
Mhm.
Moving on. Moving on from the characters. We
Oh,
have
God.
the event cards, support and equipment cards that will also be added alongside Emily and Kachina. I'll quickly go through these since there's only like 4 of them being added, but like here we go. The first card being added into the game is In the Name of the Extreme, which is the very first 4-cost card that we have gotten in quite a while after Vanessa, right?
No, Vanessa's 3 cost. The only
Oh, it's
other 4
Gorgeous Oath.
cost is
Oh, yeah, it's only Lament.
Lament.
Lament, which was here since the beginning, and now we have
Yeah.
another 4 costs. Basically, what this does is exchange hands with your opponent. The fuck? Then the player with the fewer cards in their hand draws until they have the same number of cards as the other player. Wow.
So like the first thing I wanted to do with this is now you can force people to go gambling with Melusines. They have no choice
True.
anymore.
Huh?
True.
This could also be a good pairing with Siegeween.
Oh,
True.
that is funny.
Or
Siegeween.
Mausoleum.
Oh yeah,
Mausoleum,
Mausoleum too.
You
Mausoleum.
just
I
brick
forgot
their
about
entire
Mausoleum.
deck.
So the
I,
only problem with Mausoleum is you end up bricking yourself as well.
I mean,
Yeah.
Do you though? Because you swap everything, you get all their cards, and then they drop to their maximum hand size, which is their entire deck, and then they get like 10 forbidden knowledge in your deck.
Just don't do it if they have Forbidden Knowledge in their hand.
Yeah, that's the point. That's
Easily.
the point. Like it's a 4 cost. You're not gonna do it twice.
yeah.
Yeah, alright. Next card that we're going to be reading off is Wave Rider, which is worse because it is a 5-cost equipment card. And it's considered to be a technique card in the world. When played, it grants the character to which this is attached 2 shield points. When the character to which this is attached is switched out, this card gains 1+ usage. The technique is called Wave Rider's Swift Strike Cannon, and it basically deals 2 physical damage. So, I think from my understanding is when Wave Rider is equipped to a character, they gain +2 shield points. And when the character is switched out from being the active character, the technique, I think the technique or card gains +1 usage.
The technique.
The technique. Okay. What's and
Yeah.
then and then is the cannon just like there?
No,
Or
the,
it's
the
the
cannon
actual
is the
technique.
technique.
Oh, so it collects the technique, but the max is 2, I'm assuming.
No,
So-
you start with 2.
Ah.
So the idea for this is you equip it and you every time you swap you get another usage. So technically speaking you can have infinite usages, right?
Someone's
The
gonna do
problem
that.
is realistically speaking, I think this is a 5-cost Sino. And Sino is 0 cost, so
It costs it
you know.
Yeah,
It costs
Fair
nothing to play Sino.
True.
I
So
mean,
like
if they
it's
mine and go.
yeah, it's a more expensive version of a technique we already have. That's already bad.
yeah, it's like you have to pay 5 upfront and then 1 to use the technique itself. Meanwhile, the Stingray is 2 cost to equip. No, it's 0 cost to equip and then 2 cost to attack.
Also,
Which
really,
adds up to 4.
It really is just a worse Sino.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right. Next up, we have the support card, location card that is Masters of the Night Wind, which is a 0-cost card. This card begins with 4 Spirit Speakings. After you select Spirit Speaking -1. At the start of the action phase, if Spirit Speaking is 0, this card is removed, and you can select one of 3 random 2-cost support cards to be created. Select one card from a specific number of cards and activate its effect. I actually do not know how this card works.
Okay.
so Minun, you can go.
Yeah. So we have a few cards that basically make you choose out of different cards to add cards to your hand or to the field. So like Chiori. Chiori has, when you use her skill, you get to choose either between 3 or 4, depending on if you use her talent or not, different summons. And that is now a keyword called select. So every time you do that, or something, a card that does something similar to that, you will remove a stack, and once you have done that 4 times, you get the effect of this location. So basically, Ictomisaur, Tea Time, Chiori, and I think there was another. I don't remember. There's not many.
Was it? Oh yeah, you already mentioned Tea Time.
And
No, I think
yeah.
it really
I
is
think
just Chiori and Tea Time.
Yeah, and Ictomisaur, which is a technique that is not good.
All right. The last card releasing in 5.5 is a food card. Why is it called Dish? I have no clue. It's
Wait,
called,
what? Oh, wait, what is it called? Dish
It's called Dish.
translator.
instead
What the
of
heck?
food.
Translator error. Ain't
Oh.
no way.
Uh-oh.
Oh, whoops. I was not supposed to point that out. I am so sorry, translator.
Caught red-handed.
Caught.
God.
Get him.
Get him, mister. All right. Mystique Soup, which is a 1-cost dish card. Select one of 3 random effects to be performed on the target character. I think um
I
we
love
don't
gambling.
it's
Okay.
another it's serene. It's another serene card.
No, it's a select. It's a select effect. So
Yeah.
But that
here's
should
the thing.
also
The-
count for Masters of the
Masters.
Nightwind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I'll mention. If you're looking at this on our screen, it doesn't say anything below the card. That's because the announcement didn't give any information on this card.
So we'll just
Yeah.
have to live without it and see
I
it when it
think-
comes
was
the
it
day
in the
of.
creator experience? I think.
Can
it
we
was
talk
in the
about creator experience?
If it is in the career experience, absolutely. Anything career experience
Let
is
me
valid.
check. Let me check real
Yes,
quick.
we
Not
have
that
the revealed
we're,
effects from
Not
CN.
that we're talking about stuff we're not supposed to. Creator experience. Let me look. Podcast. Yeah, the effects were revealed in creator experience.
So
Okay.
there are 6 effects that the 3 random ones can appear.
6? Oh god.
Yes. So the first
Oh
one,
my god.
you get to select the 1 out of 3. So it's the 3 random ones will be picked, and then just pick 1 out of the 3. So effect 1. Next time the target character uses a skill, spend 2 less elemental dice. Second one, during this round, the target character takes -2 damage next time. Number 3, during this round, the target character takes -1 damage 3 times. Number 4, heal the target character for 2 HP, the hash browns. During this round, the target character does +2 damage for the next instance, Tandoori. And number 5, the target character gains a max 1 HP. So it's basically just a lot of different food cards combined into one.
Yeah.
And
I
all of
can't
their
be-
effects are good.
Yeah, I can't be the only one that thinks this at one cost is just a little bit insane.
Agreed.
A Tandoori 1 cost.
It's either a tandoori, a butter chicken, 2/3 of a lotus crisp.
Yeah. I think it's good. Right,
2/3
like-
of a Lotus Crisp, you get Day of Resistance, you get a Moonpiercer effect, you get a Hash Browns, worst case scenario, you get a Hash Browns. I would say this is like the best food card we have ever gotten. Period.
So it's gonna be 2 Mystic Soup, 2 Hot Pot in most summon decks now.
Possibly.
Yeah, I can see that. I think it's just even like in general, because you can choose between 3 of them, you're probably never going to get an effect that's not at least somewhat useful.
Like,
Yeah.
at minimum, since there's like 3 effects out of 6, you are almost guaranteed to get a -2 damage to your characters.
Like you're always going to get, I mean, healing is more likely, right?
Yeah.
Or like damage prevention, or like max HP increase, which are all effectively like the same thing, like defensively played foods. But also, since there's 2 offensive effects, there's a good chance that if you're running, you're playing the food to get offensive, you will actually get the effect, right?
True. Eon, you're muted.
Oh, whoops. Sorry. Apologies about that. Well, after that, the last thing that we actually have to discuss right now is the balance changes that came along with these cards.
And we're putting them in right now because the thing literally just released like a few hours ago. So
Yes.
Wow.
not too
Co-
worried. See, this is what happens when Genshin does not give us a consistent schedule when they release their things. Stop doing
We
this.
love
to us.
Hoyoverse.
I love
Sure.
Hoyoverse.
So-
Yes.
Actually, Kojo, would you be so kindly to quickly summarize the balance changes?
Absolutely. Oh man, would you believe it? Here, let's see here. Sijuin, Sangonomiya Kokomi, Venti, Ganyu, Hu Tao, Zhongli, Noel, and Jean are all getting an HP adjustment from 10 to 12. Holy moly, guys! Power creep is here. Just kidding. It's
Go.
fine.
Hu Tao main's
The-
eating good.
She finally
Finally.
she can consume more HP out of herself. Ain't no way.
Ganyu
Elemental
also
Resonance,
eating good.
high voltage, effect adjusted to your active character and your next character without a maximum energy will gain 1 energy. This is going to be very good for first turn sets, and we'll talk about the rest of the applications later. Elemental Resonance, Impetuous Winds. The next time you perform switch characters, this action will be considered a fast action instead of a combat action. It will also cost 1 less elemental die, and the next swirl reaction you trigger deals +1 damage to all opposing characters except the target. Animal Res does damage. Wow. Elemental Resonance, Sprawling Greenery. Effect adjusted to if you have Burning Flame, Dendrocore, Catalyzing Field on the field, deal 1 pyro damage or /1 hydro damage /an electro damage for each respective element to the opposing active character. Elemental Resonance, Enduring Rock. Effect adjusted to provides 3 shield points to your active character. That's weird. A lot of balance adjustments. Whoa, what the freak? Let's start with the HP change. What? They did that? Insane.
Yeah. I mean,
This is huge.
it is. I mean, the max HP change is very big. Even just one, they have so far only ever changed max HP by 1, and only down, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a big buff for all of these characters. I actually believe like Ganyu and Zhongli are going to be way better now. Those two
I'm gonna-
specifically.
I'm going to throw a quick question at the board. What do you think the point is for buffing characters to 12 HP when in relation to what's going on with drumsticks and FTKs?
Yeah, I think that's their main reason for buffing HP because like a
Yeah.
lot of characters nowadays have really high breakpoints, and pushing a character past 12 HP, like 10 HP, just makes it so that they don't get FTK'd easily, and actually
Yeah.
have a fighting chance for mid-range to stall decks.
Mm-mm. Yoimiya talents can't do FTK now either.
True.
Yeah, true. But I do wonder why these specific characters get the buff.
I can see a few of them.
Yeah. I mean,
So Ganyu, she can get her charge attacks more consistently now without fear of just getting nuked. Zhongli,
For-
since like he's the Geo Archon, he's supposed to be the tank.
Yeah,
Noel
Bill's supposed to be the
also-
tank, and he barely gets the tank like all the
Yeah.
time.
yeah, I mean, it also buffs his talent, right?
True.
Oh, true. Yeah, he just stays above 6 HP. That's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huge. And
I'd say
Hu
for
Tao,
Hu Tao,
yeah, I saved the best for last because rightful reward.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
it also
Wait,
just
what
Everyone
gives
is
you
talking
that,
about
like,
this.
it also gives you that extra little room to set up since her skill doesn't actually do damage. So her skill essentially now just says that she takes 2 less damage, I guess.
True.
I think most of the characters on the list were characters who struggle a little bit with particular breakpoints, where they need a little bit too much setup, or they can't provide enough value, so they need to have a little more HP to at least survive 1 more hit, like Jean.
Yeah.
Same goes for
I
Kokomi.
see.
Like she can be a DPS now without
Yep.
getting fear of getting nuked.
Now imagine they had HP scaling. Nah.
Imagine
Okay,
if they scaled Norwal's HP. Just
Mhm.
imagine.
Please no.
We don't
Whale,
want to.
whale. Sorry,
Drag
Whale.
Forest
whale.
in the chat.
Whale.
He'll hear you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, surprisingly enough, we finally reached the end of the podcast.
Let's
Yeah.
go.
Yeah,
Why are we so
two-
excited? I have no idea. Well,
We've been here
before
for 3 hours.
Yeah, it was a
Before-
very long podcast. We had a lot to catch up on.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's already shown on the screen. Before we officially end the podcast, I would like to officially announce that GITCG's patch 5.4 made EU Majors is finally happening at March 23rd at 11 a.m. EDT, 4 p.m. CET, and 12 a.m. JST.
If the
So,
local European in the room would like to tell us how many hours away that is.
uh-huh.
That is 5.5 hours away.
Let's go.
Let's go.
We
Yeah.
may have podcasted for a little too long. Whoopsies.
Oopsie, I'm sorry, guys.
Whoopsies.
We yapped.
We yapped.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Thank you so much for hosting. Actually, one more thing
Before we
before
get
we
there,
officially
hold up.
end. Before we end, I officially also want to briefly, well, not advertise, but ever since we haven't heard a single news about CTG, the GITCG community has been really trying their best to hold their own TCG events. So I would like to quickly promote a tournament that's actually going on right now and is being held by the Russian speaking community. The what's the name again? The Generals Tournament version 2, which is a draft tournament according to the description. And if you want to find out more, I highly suggest you join our Discord server, should be linked on the description below. There are also other tournaments being held by other people of the GITCG community, like, let's see here. Zernyoku tournament. There's a Zernyoku tournament being held by the Japanese speaking community. There's also the Lantern Right Cup being held. I think around when Lantern Right Cup happens. It already happened, but assuming there's a next year, hopefully. Lantern Right will be there waiting for you, and a lot more. So if you want to find out updates on all of the TCG tournaments, and if you want to participate in our tournaments to join the majors that will happen in 5 hours later, I highly recommend you joining our GITCG Discord server.
Discord.gg/GITCG. And I do believe, thanks to Summonation, what is it? There will be a stream for this one, so be sure to go and look up for that one.
Let's
Yeah, that
go.
too. There will be a stream, guys. Finally. No, I'm kidding. Why am I saying
Insane.
insane? Well, I have stalled for too long. We are now officially ending the podcast, guys. Any more final thoughts from our wonderful casters? Starting with Minun.
Well,
Uh,
it was
actually, no. Sorry, apologies. Basically say what your final thoughts are for TCG in the future and just like general thoughts about the podcast. That's all. I'm sorry.
all good. Well, it was fun being on the podcast. Although we, as you mentioned, we do, as it seems, have lost official tournament support, I do still think that this game is currently, it has a lot of active players. I don't think that is going to kill the game. I just think we as a community have to hold more community tournaments, which of course in the Discord we do every week. So yeah, join. Even if you don't think you will win much, just join for fun. We need more. We need to be active. We need to play. We need to show Miyoyo that we are here. We are still actively playing, even if they don't support us officially. And who knows? Maybe we will get support back. But even if not, we can still have fun together and enjoy the game together. Yeah.
You can
my
move on,
turn.
20. Yeah.
So overall, it was a very fun stream. Thank you for inviting us, Ian. Clesis. And
Clesis.
Clesis. And I would like to say that TCG is like one of the main reasons why I'm still playing Genshin. It's really fun. Community is really nice. And even if there's no more official tournaments, I hope they will come back because like we get a limited edition card backs. So That's like one of the main draws of competing in official tournaments. However, even if there isn't, there's a lot more like fun side events. Like for example, the draft tournament, which I played with a friend of mine yesterday. It was very fun. Like we banned Crab, we banned Sino and all that, and we just get to play with like really creative decks. So yeah, I see TCG going in a good direction moving forward.
So
Passing on to Takti.
for-
Yeah, sorry,
Yeah.
sorry, Tati. You can go now.
I just want to say thank you as well for having me. It's really was been a pleasure. I'm excited for how the nerfs gonna, how the meta's gonna go going forward, and how all the buffs and things have done. Like especially Animo Resonance. As someone who plays a lot of Shenamo, I am absolutely frothing over that change because -4 Cryo Swirls seemed like just a whole lot of fun. But otherwise, yeah, I'm hoping that we get official tournaments back. I missed the last CCG, but if there is another one, I'll definitely be there. I'll definitely be playing. I want to give it a lot more of my effort and time. But otherwise, the community's been nothing but accepting to me. So if anyone wants to join, take it from me as somebody who sort of was late to the party. I was made to feel like I wasn't sort of excluded from things. It was like I was here from the very beginning. So you'll probably enjoy it if you're here.
Thank you for those kindly closing words. Tati, how about you, JarNad?
Got to mention Kaya long range on stream. So very happy.
I can't believe this guy.
Uh,
Kind of based though. Kaya long range is based.
yeah, I had fun
It
today,
is.
and I hope I'd get invited again. Thank you.
All right. How about you, Kojo?
Sure. What is it? As we said before, just kind of a repeat to get everything up and rolling again. You know, as you can see, what is it for people you have been here from the start, like 20DX, or people who are getting here halfway through, like talk to me minimum. What is it? There is always a space for someone to join the community Discord.gg/GITCG. Even if you just want to play, if you want to play in tournaments, or if just want to hang out and learn the game, and that's okay. We won't judge you either way, but what is it? Especially with the new community tournament forum, we're doing our best to promote other tournaments that are not just our own. What is it? And reach like the international audience, so you know where to go. And as long as you play the game, and if you feel like it, it'll always be there. So again, thank you for everyone for taking this time out of your day. Shoutouts to 2QB, Eon, and Billy Boom for doing this entire setup for the podcast, because oh man, you put your work in, and also everyone for staying this long for a podcast. Because oh boy, this is a long runtime.
Yeah,
Thank
that's
you for
probably.
I like
hosting.
yapping.
It was fun.
It was really
Yeah.
fun though. Yapping. I love
Yeah.
yapping.
Nothing better than yapping about TCG.
Yeah.
I
Well,
yap about the game more than actually playing it.
That's true.
true.
Same.
That's true. All right. Well, that will be it for the Bar Table podcast. Again, I am your host, Eon. We'll go back to the basement now. Thank you so much for tuning in, but now we gotta tune out. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
Pita break.
Bye.
Bye.
Ayada.
And, is it over?